Welcome back, everyone, to The Movie Date with Rob and Matt. This is a podcast for people who love talking about movies but don't want to be too smug about it.
They love it.
They love it. My name is Matt.
They like it. They love it. They want some more of it.
Is that right? What's your name?
Toby Keith or whatever.
No, what's your name?
Rob.
There you go. All right, we did it officially.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. New year, same us.
New year, more like cynical and older and us. You know what I mean?
We look like 2021 right now, and
Yeah,
it's
we do.
2022.
We look. What's the? Oh my God! What's the? It's the meme of it's like. I don't know what the meme is. It's like the night, and he's like, there's a giant Cthulhu monster in front of him. It's like me standing in front of 2022 or whatever.
The one I've seen.
That's how I feel, but
is
like
John Travolta in Greece, like driving in. It was like me to 2019,
And then
then Pulp Fiction after that. It's 2022 because these 3 years we've discovered that linear time doesn't really matter. So anyway.
They took Betty White. Everyone's upset about it.
Yeah, we'll have a memorial mock-up in our next episode.
I wish I knew more stuff that she was in. I know like 3 things. I know the Golden Girls, that's what everyone knows. Lake Placid, and I know The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock.
I mean, I definitely know Lake Placid. I watched that way too much as a kid, and that movie's.
The movie's kind of great.
That movie's kind of great because it's kind of like a weird like comedy.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's more of a comedy than it is a horror movie.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson gets real mad at Oliver Platt.
His terrible accent. Both him and Oliver Platt have horrible accents.
Yeah,
that's kind of great. Bill Pullman's very boring. And
he kind of is. He's like, we're gonna get this gator some medical attention or whatever at the end. And I was like,
there's 2 of them.
Yeah,
I can count.
But still a great movie.
I guess it's worth a rewatch.
It's just good. It's harmless 90s fun.
Yeah. It's taken the piss a little bit because it's probably one of the least serious creature features.
But I remember some of the gore in it was pretty good.
Yeah, that guy gets his head bit clean off. It's great.
Like half a torso comes out of the river.
That was a good special effect. It looked like jerky.
It's worth a watch on one of those free apps.
Yeah, like a Tubi or something.
Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Well, that's not on my recommend, and that's so in this episode, we're marveling it up. Last time we talked about the new Spider-Man.
This movie has been like a month in the waiting.
Yes, this has been in the wings for a while.
So I feel like, Rob, this episode seems kind of late. Just shut up.
Yeah, we're all little.
Shut your mouth.
We've been productive members of society doing things, and we're back to being productive members of the digital world.
Yeah, yesterday I was really productive. I slept most of the day.
Yeah.
And I looked up how to make Taco Bell's lava sauce / volcano sauce from their discontinued volcano menu, like the volcano burrito.
Yeah,
you probably don't remember. I did a really great facsimile. I did it all from scratch. I got a bunch of red jalapeno peppers, a bunch of different like smug spices. I even ground my own cumin, and it's really good. But as I was doing it, I was like, I should go up and work on music. I should go write a song that I'm finishing. Yeah, I felt real shitty yesterday.
I had just been expending my time on too many other people. We're going to talk about. Actually, that sounds really amazing. That's a good day. That's a good day.
I mean, it wasn't really much a day so much as it was like an hour, and the rest of it was just me like watching reruns of stuff and just in the back of my mind
making cumin sauce.
Yeah, in the back of my mind,
it's good for you.
Rob, go. It wasn't good for me. It was really indulgent, but I was like, I love this. The sauce is like it burns so good. It's probably why my throat's all fucked up right now because I was like, it's quite hot or whatever. But but it burns good. It's a good burn. You ever anything like that where like as you eat it, you're like, oh, but it's so good.
Yeah.
That's
probably mostly more like Indian food, things like that, curries.
I love a good curry.
Yeah, I love. I've tried doing curry.
We're talking about Shang Chi.
We're talking about Shang-Chi. Though we're muddling towards Shang-Chi, which we kind of have been this whole month. That movie came out when?
Late September. I think.
Oh, okay. This is a part of Phase 4. This is kind of like one of the early chapters of Phase 4.
I think Marvel has had something come out like once every month this year.
Eternals went out there, and
November.
It disappeared immediately from anyone's attention, though I guess I have to watch it.
And then, like, Hawkeye hit.
Yep.
And then Spider-Man.
And
then probably next month is probably going to be whatever their next MCU thing is, another season of something or other. Anyway.
So you've been wanting to talk about this one for a minute.
I have, yeah.
And so this is based on the not super obscure, but obscure enough that a lot of people, like, if they weren't comic book knowledgeable, wouldn't know Shang Chi.
Yeah, I didn't know him. So I knew him tangentially through Iron Fist because I'm kind of a big Iron Fist fan. But like even then, I was like, I'd forgotten about who this is.
It's quite a thing to just bring him up to the forefront as a major character. Probably going to be whatever by the end of this next 4 years or so, when we get to whatever is the part 1, part 2 finale of phase 3, we see what this new potential Avengers makeup is going to look like.
Yeah. Did you watch the post-credit scenes and stuff?
Yes I did.
Okay, cool.
Yes I did. I had to look them up on YouTube, but I did watch them.
I am kind of happy that we've reached the point where like it's going to sound like a backhanded insult, but like I kind of mean it as a compliment that we're scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit now. We're like, and I don't mean bottom of the barrel in terms of quality, but rather like things that like when we think of comic books, we think of like big giant characters like Superman and Spider-Man and Batman and like I would say even like the X-Men and Thor and stuff. They've had their day, but like a lot of really talented writers got their start like writing titles that nobody else wanted or whatever.
Right.
My favorite one is that Jack Kirby, when he came to DC, he asked like, "What's your lowest selling comic?" And they said Superman's friend Jimmy Olsen what's the name of it. He's like, "I'll do that one." And that was where he introduced He did Darkseid, introduced there.
Wow.
And turned it around. Like
Superman's friend Jimmy Olsen.
He kind of turned it around, and like then did the New Gods and stuff, and like I kind of dig that, and like
it gives you such a wide palette of being able to mess with things and try
like,
some new stuff.
Like Daredevil comics, but before Frank Miller did them, we're just kind of like whatever. And then Frank Miller like, let me make this like the most as serious as a fucking car wreck or whatever. And rightfully so. It's good shit. I still say like some of the best comics you'll ever read will be like those like 80s Daredevil stuff that Frank Miller did. They're really good. But like, you know, characters like like a Luke Cage or like a Shang Chi or like a Captain Atom or something, like a lot of these kind of C-list characters that everyone kind of just forgot about.
That if you were doing a long arc, you can throw them in as like a little cameo or a little supporting cast.
Yeah, you might you might see them pop up in your Avengers comic and like, who's that?
Maybe they were part of some team or something.
Yeah. But then like getting to explore those, that's like some of my funnest favorite stuff reading comics, and it's kind of becoming my favorite stuff but like watching movies now that we've reached that point. Well, like they showed the first image of Oscar Isaac in his Moon Knight get up, and I was like, looks really dope. Yeah. And then because of that, like Moon Knight's another great example of a character like that I'm like kind of stoked for that. That's probably what the next one's going to be in February.
As long as it's as wacky as what Moon Knight always seems to be placed as.
Yeah.
I always wonder if those are edits, like have you seen all the ones where Moon Knight's like, Dracula, where are you? Are those real?
I don't know,
because I see him just like using a lot of profanity and just being kind of like.
Well, he is first of all, I love Oscar Isaac's weird British accent that he's doing. Have you seen the little stinger they did for it? So Disney Plus had a big upcoming reel, and they showed a little smidgens of She-Hulk and Moon Knight.
I saw the She-Hulk
and a bunch of other stuff, and it was mostly Oscar Isaac be like, I can't tell the difference between reality and my dreams or whatever. And then it shows a picture of him in his getup, just savagely beating a dude.
Interesting choice.
Yeah,
they could have just let it be Oscar Isaac.
But I think it works because Moon Knight is like a very skilled combatant, but who struggles with like a lot of like mental problems, and stuff, and like sees hallucinations and stuff. Like I don't know, like something about it worked for me. And then they end it with a shot of him jumping across the rooftop. It is very much like it's Marvel's Batman.
It's Marvel's Batman.
It is Marvel's Batman. He has a moon plane in some comics and moonarangs.
Random shit go. That's the other picture I see of him like throwing knives. Just random shit go.
Yeah. But like, you know, I think it works, but like, that's like kind of where I'm at now is like, I want the bigger swings from Marvel. And I feel like we're getting some of those now, but we're also getting them peppered in with stuff that I think is kind of bland. Like not to like spoil it, but like, I don't like Eternals very much, but like something like that.
Well, I will say like having characters like this, and this is kind of one of the really good thing about this movie in particular, is that when you are pulling these very specific but very kind of low-key characters, you get to just have a movie that doesn't have to feel so like pressed into the Marvel world. This movie itself, I was like, oh, we don't make movies like this anymore where it's just an action adventure film. That like this recalls like the feeling of like The Mummy or like late 90s, early 2000s, just like we got a character, we got a name, we got an action movie.
I wish
they don't make these anymore, and I think like my cynical side of me says the only way we can make them is if they're tangentially Marvel films. You know, so it's like
I was gonna say I wish it was
fantasy
more.
film.
I wish it was more that what you were saying. Like that's the thing that I was like
More Marvel-y.
No, I wish it was more like this is just kind of a crazy adventure kind of thing, and it does have the kind of vibes like it's sort of like like the Mummy films or like the first one.
It's just a good old like. Just a good old like we're traveling to magical realms and there's destinies and fates and a lot of choreographed fighting, a lot of interesting costume designs, a lot of great special effects.
Some of it I felt was I guess we should just go ahead and get into Shang Chi right now.
Sure, yeah, because we get into it. So
some of it first let's just start with like what were your expectations? Did you have high expectations for this or were you just kind of like coasting on it?
I was coasting on it. Yeah. I was just kind of like I don't feel as much hype for this.
Those trailers got me hyped. I don't know why. I think it was because like
you were hyped about it.
Because like
that's why I felt bad about like just like dragging my feet on it.
It's all right. I just loved like the raw martial artsiness of it. There's that they ended one of them. He does that big split kick. And that guy's a real Simu Liu. He's a real stunt guy. Like he does all that stuff himself.
I read that he like was working for like working for some company in Canada and then just like got bored and just decided to become an actor stunt guy, and it ended up being very beneficial to him because he's really good personality. He's
been in but even like some comedies and stuff, but like I don't know, there's something about like martial arts films I have like a weird love-hate relationship with, because like you think of like some of the best ones that you like, you think of a movie like Hero or a movie like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
or if you're going back to like the Bruce Lee like Game of Death, and that's one of my favorites.
Which I would say there's a little bit of that, but this is definitely more influenced by like wuxia films than it is like
that's one thing I was like I think under different direction it would be in the American kind of perspective. You've got two perspectives from martial arts films, especially specifically Asian martial arts films, is either because I just watched Kill Bill the other day again, which is very clearly the other side, which is almost like
the kind of martial arts films where every time someone moves something, you feel the wind.
Yeah. Or but it's also hyper stylized. Like it's very stylized, very 70s.
Yeah.
Or like you said, this wuxia like late 90s Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Who's the
Ang Lee and Zhang Yimou are like the big guys who made that happen. Ang Lee did one movie and then he moved on to other movies,
including Hulk.
Zhang Yimou has literally like made his career off of making mostly really good movies.
Well, then you get some guys like Stephen Chow as well, where you get like Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle.
I forgot about those.
Which that's more of a loving comedy. That's more of a tribute to Jackie Chan, if anything, because Jackie Chan's the other side of that, where it's a lot more rough around the edges, but it's also very percussive.
Yeah,
that's not so much this. That's fun, but that's not so much this. This is a little more like, and I'm trying to think who is the choreographer that the Wachowskis got for The Matrix.
It's not. It's the guy. It's probably the guy from Kill Bill who plays the bald guy.
No, it's not. It's not him. That's
Yuen Wo Ping.
Yeah, I think that's who it is.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's not who that was.
Yeah, that is. He plays Johnny Moe, and he also plays. That's Gordon Liu. Yeah,
he plays the head of the Crazy 88,
and then he plays the
guy who teaches Uma Thurman. I can't remember his name either, but he teaches her the 5.5 exploding fist technique.
Great as that character, Pai Mei.
Yeah,
he's also
Pai Mei. Yeah, that's right. But Yuen Wo Ping is known for doing like some of Jet Li's stuff. He did that movie Fearless, is the best example that
in Wu Ping. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's probably the best example of his like fight choreography. I remember like the moves that he would do, and like you do this twisty punch, and like you see the man's like the back of the man's back plates like pop out or whatever at the end when he accidentally murders someone. That's a weirdly good martial arts movie that straddles the line between like 70s and graceful wuxia films. Anyway, but yeah, like I feel like that's a lot more of what like Shang Chi is.
Yeah, Shang-Chi is definitely from that era of martial arts, and you could definitely feel it from how these scenes are set up, how this, you know, the percussiveness of it and also the grace of it. But it's also about like how these different cultures of combat and these different cultures set up things.
Yeah. So Shang-Chi.
So the movie is it's set because there's a quick little reference to Thanos, like everyone, you know. This actually was kind of shocking to me for a moment because, like, obviously there's a reference I think Awkwafina makes where it's like, you know, we now live in a world where everyone can, where like half the population can just disappear in a moment. And I thought she was talking about COVID, and I was like, oh god, we just.
It's lasted too long.
It's like now there are like shocking parallels between Thanos snap and COVID-19. I was like, are we talking about COVID?
Yeah.
But it's after that.
But it's probably before other stuff.
Maybe
that's probably supposed to be before it or whatever. The chronology of these movies has gotten slightly more out of whack because No Way Home takes place right after.
It takes place right after Far From Home.
Yes.
I mean, so that chronology is there.
But I feel like Shang-Chi definitely takes place after No Way Home because Wong goes on vacation.
And we find out why Wong went on vacation.
Yeah.
So
because he's sick of strange as shit.
Right. And he wants to.
And also is the
pit fighting.
Yeah. Also is the Sorcerer Supreme now.
Yeah, he's a Sorcerer Supreme, but he also likes to go pit fighting.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Because that's like one of the few little things that's like explicitly Marvel in this. Yeah. Other than that, it's completely standalone.
And even then, it's kind of retconned a little bit. But we'll get to it in a second. But
so Sean, who is Shang-Chi, has been living in San Francisco.
Or should we start with the opening, which is...
You go ahead and talk a little more about that, where it's like we get to see sort of where the 10 rings...
Well, so I guess, do we want to talk about, did we like it, or do we just want to get into talking about, like...
I figure let's talk the plot a little bit, like spoiler-free plot a little bit.
I feel like this has been out long enough.
We just talk about it whole hog.
Yeah, if we wanted to talk about it, spoilers, I think we're perfectly good, too.
Do you want to just say what, like... So we talked about first expectations.
Yeah, I was crazy excited for it.
Before we get into the main plot, without getting too caught in the weeds about it, I mean, like a summation of what you walked away with it thinking, because obviously you saw it a while back.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
This is my first time seeing it this week.
Yeah, I've seen it 3 times. I saw it twice in theaters because I really wanted to like.
It's probably a really good theater watch.
Yeah, and then I saw it once on Disney Plus or whatever. The things I really liked about it are like, one, I like a lot of the Mandarin stuff and the retcon that happens there. I know you like Iron Man 3. There's a lot of Iron Man 3 digs in this movie, including a character who makes a return, kind of,
and gets a redemption.
Yeah, kind of
way. So it's not so much digs as much as it's like there was like it's a character coming in saying like some white guy appropriated my image in order to meet his own means and it got him killed, and now I'm trying to set the record straight.
Yeah. And like the 10 rings has been a thing that's been around for a long time.
We've seen it all the way back since Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of had this like shadow effect kind of going on, but I don't think Marvel has ever really the MCU has ever really leaned into it as much as they could have.
Yeah. I really like, it's crazy that was the first movie like that we saw this in. It's weird that it goes all the way back to that.
It goes all the way back to the very first one. It feels like it was a dropped plot.
All in all, I really liked this movie. The things that I wished were better was like, as great as some of those fight sequences are, which I'll get to in a second, they're really well, like Daniel Destin Cretton before this did not do action movies at all. Not really. So like, it's crazy that they're as good as they are. And you can say like, well, Marvel has like the team of people and
right. It's kind of like John Watts with the Spider-Man movies. You know, he had done like low key, kind of rough around the edges horror.
Yeah, he did Clown.
And cop, cop car.
Yeah.
And then it's like he's doing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's almost like,
That's what
is
Marvel does.
anybody doing Spider-Man?
That's what Marvel. That's what Marvel does. They find an indie director who did one or two good things, and then they give him $112 million or whatever.
Well, that's not too strange. I mean, that's also Jordan Vaught Roberts, where it's like,
Yeah, that's a good
it's like, hey, you did, this little indie film. How about King Kong?
Yeah, good point. But no, I actually really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I even thought I would. The only things that I wish were better. I was like, I have three things. I wish the action scenes could be more brutal at times. That's where I think Marvel pulls
Plays
their
it
punch.
safe.
I don't say plays it safe. It's like you'll get more of it in some stuff than you will in others, and I'm kind of like, why in this thing but not in this thing? This thing is all about hand to hands, and there's shots of him punching that wooden dummy. I even love even that part where he comes back, he puts his hand on it, he's like, God, all the bloody knuckles on this thing. It's a very lived in world for the characters, and I really appreciate that. There's even a couple of good moments with Shang-Chi and his dad, who is Wenwu.
Wenwu, or the original Mandarin.
Yeah.
The Great Khan. He's also supposed to. He's essentially a new character because it's like a mix of the Mandarin and Fu Manchu.
Which I believe in the comics
he's
that's
Fu
not
Manchu.
Well, in the comics, is that I think Shang-Chi's dad is not the Mandarin.
No, he's Fu Manchu.
Yeah. Okay. I was making sure.
So, but they were all just all of these characters are just kind of outdated, yellow fear,
Fu
yellow
Manchu
terror
stereotypes.
characters.
Probably why they got rid of that.
And so they're like, let's give this character just a modernized dignity, and also give him one of the most dignified actors in Tony Leung.
Yeah.
Who is awesome in this movie. He does so much with so little.
He's really good.
He's great.
And for being such a tiny, he's a short guy.
Yeah.
But he feels like he's 6 feet tall or whatever.
He is the Hong Kong Al Pacino. He's one of the top A-list actors from Hong Kong. He's a romantic lead. He's a comedy actor.
Sometimes you have I don't want to be insensitive, but sometimes you have an Asian actor in movies, and they speak phonetically a lot of their lines because they don't speak the language really well. Tony Leung's English is so good that it makes me wonder why he's not in more stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just.
If you ever let's see some of my favorite goofiest moments growing up, or watch Jackie Chan's outtakes from the Rush Hour movies or something, where his English is only so, but he'll garble up a line and just do it 40 times or whatever. Watching
he was an A-list. He was a big name here. He didn't even have to really cross that boundary of Americanizing himself because he was just such charisma, and such power. You look at some actors like Jet Li, where they tried to make sure he didn't speak as much as possible.
Yeah, and Mulan, I really cringed in watching the Mulan remake where all of his lines are ADR'd.
Yeah.
And it's not, you can tell it's not his voice, but you can tell that's Jet Li. So you have the big, painful, obvious thing of that's not what he sounds like.
Right. And it's you're hiding this. I mean, I know he's been very sick lately too, but that's.
Yeah, but that was 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago. We thought he wasn't going to make it. And then obviously Bruce Lee, but I don't know. Did they dub Bruce Lee a lot back in those old movies?
Well, a lot of the old movies, they had an English dub for everything, though.
Right.
So, but Bruce Lee spoke pretty good English or whatever.
And he also was just so. He was also just so his own person. He was an icon, and the way he spoke and the way he talked and the way he talked about things was so passionate.
Yeah.
But Tony Leung has kind of been this hidden secret. He's kind of a big guy with all the and I've not seen these movies. They're on my list. Is all the In the Mood for Love. Not Park Chan-wook. That's a different actor. He's a big Hong Kong's filmmaker. Yeah. And all of his films are on the Criterion. They actually just released a huge list of them. Wong Kar-wai. Yeah. In the Mood for Love, Chungking Express, The Grandmaster, where he plays Ip Man. Tony Leung plays Ip Man.
Oh, I remember that movie. Yeah, it's with the guy who. It's not a martial arts movie.
No, it's a drama.
Yeah,
but it's about the guy who trained Bruce Lee, right?
Yeah. It's weird because the Ip Man.
Because there's also that Ip Man film series that is,
which is Donnie Yen.
Yeah, which is Donnie Yen, and is almost a fantasy series where he's just like this unstoppable badass beating up everyone in the world.
Yeah, that's where those movies can lose me, and I think there's a great disconnect that wuxia films have because they're sort of like meant to be operatic.
Right.
They're not supposed to be super
They're not
serious.
realism.
Yeah, like when there's a great scene in is it Hero? The whole thing about Hero is it's a weird what's the word when you see an event from like multiple points of view and each time they're different. The Rashomon effect or whatever.
The Rashomon effect.
Yeah, there's a great fight scene where he fights. Who are the assassins' names? Broken Sword and Falling Snow.
Long is also in Hero.
Yes,
and Hard Boiled.
Yes,
that's another one. That's Chow Yun-fat.
Oh yeah, he's done his action movies for sure.
So this is a big get for Marvel to have this guy in this movie, especially as their big bad.
I'm almost surprised he's not like Jet Li or something. Like they didn't cast the more ubiquitous like martial arts heroes. They went for like the only one who I think that you could have gotten that would be comparable is like Andy Lau is another one. He did my favorite, the original What Women Want. Which is the Mel Gibson movie, but I think it was a Chinese movie before
because he was that kind of
It was he's also in House of Flying Daggers.
That's another one is House of Flying Daggers.
And he plays the bad guy in that movie, which has a really great. That's another example. They have this really great sort of. It's a great mix between really graceful fight choreography where you're doing these gravity-defying feats, but also you're fighting in the snow and it's really brutal and there's like blood smearing on the snow all the time. Zhang Yimou loves his like monochrome color schemes,
right?
Like everything will be gold or green and just shot or red or whatever.
Just watching Kill Bill again, which obviously that first movie takes more from Japanese cinema and like samurai revenge films, but that same
Sonny Chiba's in it.
Sonny Chiba is who we lost last year as well. He passed away last year.
That's right. All the stuff in this movie that I really liked comes from like this really delicate. I just feel like there was room for, while we're doing all these really cool graceful scenes, we could have gotten some more brutal action, and I thought we were gonna get like, remember like in Spider-Man No Way Home, he's punching the Green Goblin and it's really
we
aggressive.
Almost made a point that it's like and I think that's probably I like to think that that's the director having a little bit of control where he's like, I want, if they're coming from different worlds, they're coming from a more brutal film timeline than this nice, like mostly less gruesome MCU has been. Yeah. So I think Willem Dafoe is bringing 90s violence to a 2020s world.
Yeah. I think there was a way to do it, and I think what it should have been was the Taskmaster, the man who wears the mask, who was basically responsible for training these people. And you could have built like a beef, like all of like my most brutal pain or whatever. You're kind of the guy.
Yeah, they kind of let that go, and I was like,
he kind of dies off screen or whatever, almost off screen.
And it's like, and I was glad that he wasn't somebody kind of similar to like how in Black Widow Taskmaster turned out to be an important character.
Oh yeah, no,
I was glad it was just a guy.
The mask is that's his face.
Yeah,
but you could have
just the
you could have had
master.
Like a fight with them where in fact you should have had him kill him on the roof or the balcony ledge that they're fighting on
when they're in that
and like you could have had him kill him with like the spear, and then like as he kills him, like you turn around and you just hear like. You see his dad there's like, you still got it. I'm proud of you. Yeah. Whatever.
Look at you.
Now I think let's start trading. I really liked this movie. We'll get into some of the little quibbles I had with it. But I also have a lot of like not quibbles where I'm like, I'm afraid they're going to do something and make me go, oh, don't do that. And they don't do it. They do like the opposite or whatever, which I was really happy about. Not super crazy about the big finale being a big giant monster.
Yeah, I've got my feelings about that.
Yeah, but we can start talking about it now.
I'll say, I also liked it. I liked that it was so confident and independent. It gave me, and not just because it's Marvel having a movie that focuses on a non-Western, non-white, like
I'll get to that.
Entire cast and lore. It reminds me a lot of Black Panther in that way, where both films are kind of as far away from the MCU focus as possible and more focused on their own lore, their own mythos, and their own style. And it just so happens also that these both happen to be focuses on, in America, minority performers. And
Shang-Chi happened to come out after we had a bunch of like really horrible like Asian hate crimes,
right? Well. And COVID has also drawn up a lot of xenophobia and everything
that too.
else. So.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
but also like we know that the cynical side of it is that all these companies are trying to make their money in China because they're a superpower and all.
But I think Kevin Feige has a little bit of a shield against that because I think
No pun intended.
Yeah. And but I think that Kevin Feige, like he's been building a lot of this stuff up for a long time. And like I think eventually, like when he was doing Iron Man and stuff, like eventually his job. I think the first thing he was thinking about is I want to get to Avengers. If I can just get all of these, because those first MCU movies, they're good in brackets. Like I don't love the first Captain America movie, to be honest with you, or whatever. But like, but they didn't do super well financially. Like you made Captain America for $150 million. It makes $300 million,
right?
And the theater takes a cut of that, and your marketing budget is also taken out of that. So like the amount of profit you're making is small.
But
he was building up to try to get
all
to
these movies had these connective threads through the post credits.
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, I want to talk to you. You know, you get off the bat with Iron Man. I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah,
and that's all of a sudden everyone's like, this has purpose. These movies are leading up to something.
And when he got to Avengers, he was okay. I'm gonna broaden the story, and by the end of like this part, I'd like to get to like I want to get to Ant-Man, and I want to get to Doctor Strange, and I want to get to I want to include Spider-Man. So by the time we get to Age of Ultron, Civil War, and stuff, like right after that, we've introduced new characters, and after that, he was like, okay, it's time to widen who is available in this universe, not including even the Netflix stuff that had been going on by this time as well.
It was just like now we've gotten the gate open.
Yeah,
for the
we've made
everybody knows. Now we're widening out for some people that only the fans would know, but are still accessible. Now let's see who we can get.
Yeah, we've made the B list
buffet of
the A list. We've made the B list the A list, and now he's like, now I want to make the C list A list.
That's exactly what
so like I believe that like I think it's weird how it also like sometimes I think it's just like it's a coincidence in a lot of ways. Like when Marvel was doing when DC decided to do Batman v Superman, Marvel was also doing Civil War.
Yeah,
I don't believe that was planned. In fact, in some ways, Marvel was like the green light for Batman v Superman, gave them the courage to do Captain America 3 as Civil War. It was going to be Captain America fights a bunch of like Winter Soldier berserkers from Hydra or whatever, which I thought would have been cool, but also like I'm glad it was Civil War.
It's too much. That's almost too much. Like. Is just a continuation of the Winter Soldier, which is great just by itself.
But like, and as that happened, like and at the same time, X-Men Apocalypse was coming out, like which is also superheroes kind of fight each other. So like, it's weird all those happened at the same time, but I don't believe they happened cynically because studios were like, we gotta they're doing it, because they all got greenlit at the same time,
right? It just happens to have been. All the stars fell in place. All the planets fell in place that those happened. Then it was a matter, and from there, these worlds have kind of expanded past those points.
So I think like Black Panther arriving when it did, or this movie arriving seemingly right in the right space for it to be. I think that's mostly just a coincidence.
Yeah.
But but Kevin Feige also likes money. Like he wants these movies to be wildly successful.
And he certainly has shown the formula for success in this regard.
Sure. But I forgot what I was going to say. But I think that, there's an argument he made that this movie can be cynically made to capitalize on an Asian demographic. But I don't think the people involved in it are nearly that like I believe the corporate structure is that cynical, but I don't believe the creatives are that cynical.
And I agree with that as well. Like if this film doesn't feel like it was churned out of a machine, like to hit all the points. Like it's still full of charisma and it's still very much in its world, and it's just where this world is going to connect with the greater Marvel universe will be very interesting to see, because this feels so insular. This feels so specific, especially with a lot of the big monster mythos. But
let's get into
the last things I want to say is I really liked a lot of it. It was fun. The choreography was excellent. I loved the grace of it. I loved the pace. It took its time. I like what they're doing with this character and giving him so many opportunities. I felt some of the latter points, where the plot leading to where it did, was kind of a letdown and also a bit contrived. And I was like, that's really cheap. I feel like there was so much, and we'll get into it, but I feel like there was so much more that could have made these characters not make the decisions they did.
Yeah.
And it did feel a little kind of hands off of things. And
I feel like I would have granted a lot more leeway if the finale wasn't like our
dragon fight.
typical fight, our typical Chinese dragon fights Taruk Makto from the Avatar or whatever.
And I get why they're doing that. It is very much in the style of this kind of movie and this kind of culture.
Yeah, but Shang Chi is like his thing is like he is the this title goes around, but he's like one of the best fighters in the Marvel universe. You want to build your movie off of like, and they do for a lot of it, like great hand to hand fight sequences. But our end is
And
like
those
big
rings as
mythic.
an effect are cool as hell. Like,
Yes.
that's a cool thing to have.
I'll get back to that in a second because that was one of the things that I really liked by the end of it that I was worried they were gonna botch.
And since we'll get into talk about the movie, to start off, I like that this isn't a hero discovering his power story. He knows who he is from the beginning.
Yeah.
That's refreshing. I don't have to watch his training. I don't have to watch him fumble through it. Sometimes that works. Sometimes that's really charming. But I feel like that would have been a detriment in this movie. I like that he's like been hiding his power level for years.
Yeah. It's almost like extra refreshing because we not only do we know who he is, he actively was like, I want to go live in America and park cars or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's
I don't want to be an assassin.
yeah, like it's and maybe that's the one part that like it's like such a teeter-totter thing. If you lean too hard one way or the other, it falls apart.
Yeah.
If he's too goofy, I'm like, well, your training didn't leave that horrible of an impact on you.
Serious, he's
not a fun protagonist.
He's invulnerable.
Yeah.
Like then all of a sudden nothing can touch him.
Yeah.
And so you have to make him confident in his abilities, but still fresh to the world.
Yeah. And I think because a lot of times when we show like an audience surrogate character, the whole point is so that we can kind of experience what the character's going through or whatever. But we kind of get that with Awkwafina instead. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know anything about his past.
She's the audience surrogate. Yeah, she's definitely the audience surrogate. And I almost there was a point in me like last night where I was thinking about it, where I was like, what if this movie was from her main perspective and we're following him? But then I'm like, that doesn't work either, really.
Yeah, because it's Shang-Chi's story.
Yeah, it's Shang-Chi's story, but she's a really good addition.
Yeah,
and I like that since we're not, we're talking spoilers and everything. I like that it is. They don't make it immediate. They don't make it for surely romantic.
A lot of people were like, "Yeah, that was an article when it came out."
Platonic, and I'm wondering if they're just kind of keeping that open for the possibilities of these characters.
They're doing a Pepper Potts.
Yeah,
a lot of people said they built that romance up like over a long time, and I was like, "This is a second movie." Yeah. It culminated. Or
it culminated.
It almost happened in the first movie. She asks him to go get her a drink with like a lot of extra olives or whatever, and he does, and then he forgets because the lady Iron Man sleeps with at the beginning comes back with pictures of this town being destroyed by his properties, and like, where the fuck is this? And he just leaves Pepper at the bar or whatever. And I was like, yeah. And it comes back at the end. He's like, I don't know. What if we just get out of here and go to Venice? Like, I have a feeling like a vibe between us. Like, is that the vibe that you felt at the party? He's like, when I asked you to get me a drink, and he was like, ooh, yeah. And then he's like, and then you just left me there. And he was like, yeah. And then the movie ends. And I was like, so like, I mean, I kind of, part of me was like, is it wrong that I wanted them to become a couple? Like, I like that the vibe is there, but if it ends up like it's nothing, then I'm going to be like, I feel real stupid now.
Well, and it's also like, if they've known each other for 15 years, I think that's what Awkwafina says, is they know each other for 15 years. It's like, I mean, at this point, like, what are we? I mean, obviously, relationships build on exciting situations, and she's kind of taken this pretty well in stride, but definitely shows her shock. She's legitimately funny in this movie because she's a legitimately funny actress. And is very charming. I know some people find her grating, but I'm like, I don't. I think she's cool.
I think she might be grating, and like I can see why someone would like watch like Raya the Last Dragon and find her like that character is a lot all the time. Mm-hmm. Her energy is always at 11, and that's not always. It can be very Jar Jar Binksy, for lack of a better word. But here she's like her Crazy Rich Asians. She's fine.
Right.
I don't think she's too much.
I think the character just makes sense.
Yeah.
And then works well off him.
That's like a director's job to tell you if you're being too much.
Yeah. One of the things is in acting, like, you always want to go for 11, like especially in rehearsals, so that you can show your potential, and then it's the director's job to say, great, now pull it back. Don't ever underplay, because then you're not living up to your full potential. You're not firing with all your bullets, like as Zack Snyder would say.
Yeah.
you need to go as big as possible and then be able to mold it back.
Yeah.
In film, I guess it's very similar. But
So we open this movie with
Yes.
a
Flashback.
history lesson of the Mandarins conquering, and it's the first time we see like the 10 rings, which in this case the 10 rings are not 10. Like in the comic books, for a long time they were literal rings that you wore on your
finger
fingers.
rings.
Here they're like armbands.
Yeah, they're
that he
they're
can
these bracelets that
shoot out
Yeah.
and summon back to him and kind of use them to catch himself / fly kind of, and all sorts of kind of whatever you can think to do with them. They can kind of do. I was really worried by the end of this movie when Shang-Chi gets them, which by the way is a great little arc when he learns how to use them the way his mom taught him to use
and
them.
that was I really liked that. Was like the whole sequence coming up in this first part, this cold open with that actress and Tony Leung.
She kicks his ass.
She kicks his ass, but it's also a dance.
Yeah.
It's where they learn to like respect and love each other. That's good shit right there.
Yeah,
That was
Tony Leung is
great.
not evil for the whole movie.
No, but it does make a point that he is a tyrant of some renowned.
Yeah. I mean, he was Genghis Khan or something.
Right.
Or Kublai Khan.
He's been alive for 1,000 years. He's
Yeah.
and now he also like we get the idea that the 10 Rings, holds a lot of involvement in world politics. They kill who needs to be killed. They run shadow. It's very similar to like in Black Widow.
Yeah,
when they
I was
were
about to
just
say
like-
that.
We're just like, oh, by the way, they've been kind of keeping everything going. I'm like, why wasn't this discussed?
How many
earlier?
shadowy organizations are there in the Marvel universe that are responsible for all our world events?
I mean, you got
but yet
Hydra, you
can't
got-
beat the Avengers or anything, or can't
And no one knows. Like, so it's like Hydra obviously infiltrated the U.S. government.
How come they never butt heads?
Yeah.
How come like the Black Widows show up to an assassination? The 10 Rings are already there. Like, hey, I'm killing this dude.
I think that
you
would
kill
be,
your
that
own.
would be
dude.
great.
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility. Well, except now they've shut down the Black Widow initiative and all that. But you still have Yelena
Or Hydra or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, yeah. At some point, it's ubiquitous. It's like there's a million shadowy organizations. I feel like at some point, I'd be like Tony Stark would just be chewing gum. Like, hey Jarvis, can we take down all the shadow organization, please?
Yeah.
Thank you, or whatever. Like, and just kill, just take them all out or whatever. I feel like at some point, like I don't care because like we're thinking of it after the fact,
Right.
Whatever. It's not like we planned this or whatever. But no, like they have. He wants to find. A path to this hidden land / village, and she meets like I was the one thing I
It was
think
really cool that it's like that when I saw this bamboo forest moving on its own.
Yeah.
I was like, the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really neat.
yeah, I was kind of hoping that maybe it was gonna be Kunlun from Iron Fist. Feels like a missed opportunity to just make it Kunlun. How many hidden cities are there that you can only find through magical portals?
And in this case, it's
exactly the same.
It's Ta Lo.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could have been something.
Which might be one of those hidden cities. I know Crane Mother comes from a different hidden city, and they have.
This obviously is a hidden city, and hidden enough that it has the flora and fauna of mythology.
I just feel like because then there's a drag. Because Iron Fist has Shao Lao the dragon, which could have just been your dragon.
Well,
I feel like
dragon guys now.
Yeah, like I feel like it just slotted in perfectly. It would have been a great opportunity. Like you see an Iron Fist symbol on like the K. Like, oh, don't worry about that. That's where we send our greatest warriors or whatever. Wink, wink, or
Wink,
whatever.
wink, yeah.
Like it would have been. I don't know. I just felt like a missed opportunity to connect something without having to really do anything.
I wonder if that had anything to do with the state of the Netflix series and like
Maybe.
all the cancellations.
Yeah. I still say Iron Fist season 2 is great. There's a really great fight scene where Danny Rand and Davos are tied with a sash in a circle, so they can't ever get away from each other, and it's just whoever wins the fight. It goes on for like hours, and it's just bloody knuckles, and it's really gruesome and beating them, and it's good stuff. I like because I'm so bitter about Iron Fist because like at the end he's got the Orson Randall guns, Iron Fist, the Iron Fist from like the 50s or whatever. Anyway, but it could have been cool. But yeah, eventually he gets tired of getting his ass kicked, that he decides to learn how she's doing it or whatever,
because she's able to like reverse the polarity of the rings and like use her abilities to be able to like change them as
the way I kind of read it is like kind of like in a good example is like in Aquaman, Arthur has his mom's, and he starts it out with his mom's trident, the one we see in the Snyder Cut.
Right.
It can control the water and can it has other abilities. Whereas Orm's trident, he goes, there's a line where he says, "You wield my mother's trident, like a powerful weapon, just like her." And he goes, "But flawed." He goes, "I wield my father's." His father's is just a weapon of war. It has no other discerning qualities, and he uses it to break his mother's. Kind of like symbolically saying, like, only thing Orm knows is violence and destruction. Just like the only way Wu Wen, if that's exactly, or Wenwu, the only way he uses these things are as
control,
weapons and destroying things.
Right.
But she can turn them into like these defensive things and use them in all sorts of ways that he lacks the imagination of, which is an arc that happens later with Shang Chi when he learns to fight. What's her name?
Michelle
Yeoh, who I thought was just gonna, in the trailers, I thought that was just gonna be his mom.
Yeah, it's his aunt.
Yeah, it's his aunt who just shows up.
Fa La Xin is the actress who plays the mother.
Yeah, she only gets like, I don't know, 4 lines of dialogue or something.
But I really like this opening sequence because it's really a really good meet cute. And the fighting is so graceful when it becomes a dance.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the idea that he's like he puts away these things and takes her back to our world.
It's a cliche I like, is like the
immortal,
the brutal warrior is tamed by a woman who is both stronger than him but demure in a way.
Stronger than him,
but she doesn't ever
graceful and
she could beat him, but she never tries to press the attack.
She shows him his limits and then embraces who he is.
Yeah.
Even at those limits. Yeah. And that's what he needed.
And then he becomes a cool stay-at-home dad who plays Dance Revolution or whatever with
he has 2 kids. He has his Shang Chi and his sister.
I can't remember her name either. I'm sorry. I'll edit all these little bits out. But
Zhu Zhalang.
Yeah.
Zhu Zhaling, who is Minge Zhang. She's really good in this.
Is that is Zhu Zhaling? Is that the character's name?
That's the character.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and so Zhu, she stays. He goes off. We discover that's like, the 10 rings continue because the mother dies. We find out later she dies defending them from a group of like thugs, like a big army of the
Iron Gang or whatever they're called, or some shit.
Which I wonder if that may be a throwaway Iron Fist reference or something.
I don't think so.
The Iron Gang shows up wanting for blood, and she off screen kicks all their asses, but they clearly beat her to death as well.
Yeah, and he witnesses all of it.
Right, Shang Chi witnesses all of it.
It's pretty awful.
And then he's like, "All right, time for violence again."
Yeah, he picks up that's the scene that I was like, when I'm talking about like there was a little bit room for more brutality, he destroys those people.
Yeah.
Like he uses those rings
when he goes to the bar,
demolish them.
And it's mostly just seen in the mirror.
Yeah.
And he blows some people's heads off.
Oh, the movie has also, I wanted to bring this up now, has a great cinematography.
Yeah.
For a movie that, like a lot of the Marvel movies, the cinematography is very perfunctory and very bland. This one's pretty good. We don't get any we don't get a lot of like close-ups of stuff, like really deep, like high millimeter close-ups or really great distant shots. Everything's like a mid or like a mid close or whatever, so I don't like the lack of variety that we kind of don't get from these movies. So I like Black Widow. The cinematography has a great sense of like, hey, this is a camera, like let's mix up the shot so you're not always looking at one thing that's boring. And there's a lot of
dialogue, so it makes sense since these characters are talking a lot.
But the way they use the camera, even in fight scenes that you don't even think about, we'll get to one that happens on the side of a building on a bamboo thing that's really inventive.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a little thing, is like a lot of the stuff that you're looking at, including the reflections on the wall, are all CG.
I figured as much.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. I watched Corridor Crew. I don't know if you watched. They're the VFX artists react people.
Oh, cool.
And they're VFX artists, and they'll do episodes where they break down stunts with great stuntmen or visual effects with visual effects people. One of the original guy who worked on the Star Wars prequels broke down a lot of stuff with them, and it's really fun if you want to watch like great kind of breakdowns of like filmmaking and stuff.
Noted.
And the guy from Shang-Chi broke down like the bus fight and the scaffolding fight and a bunch of other stuff that they use, particularly like how they like made the 10 rings work and stuff, like all sorts of cool innovative stuff. And it shows you like how unimaginative, like I don't know, the first Captain America's cinematography is. Like the action is like you're pointing at the guy who's punching and you're pointing at the other guy who's punching. Whereas here you get these really
Reactive
long
shots.
Yeah, here you get these really great long one takers that have a lot of really cool like I don't know what the right word is, but like gymnastics and agility displays and stuff.
And which means it had to have been rehearsed, it had to have been operated, it had to be set in motion so that everything,
which is why having your lead actor is also a very stunt guy,
right,
helps.
Means you don't have to hide his face or like make these cuts to make sure you don't see that it's not the same actor.
Yeah, like when you're watching like some of those Batman fight scenes or whatever, like, I can tell like that's Rich Catrone in the suit because I can tell when it's not Ben Affleck and when it is or whatever. But like here, you don't. There's none of that.
And it even mentions in here, as I'm looking on Wikipedia about it, is that it's Simu Liu says he performed many of his own stunts because the character doesn't wear a mask anyway. So and he put on 10 pounds of muscle for that as well.
It was all for that scene where Awkwafina goes, "Where's your shirt?
Where's your shirt?" he's like,
I don't know.
I have to take it off. Anyway, so we're in San Francisco. This is years later.
They're they're parking cars.
Get a great thing where you think he's like on top of the world. It just turns out to be some other guy. And that great like San Francisco montage.
And he tosses the keys and then it's like, "Hello, sir. Thank you.
Sir.
Have a nice." All right. Like,
Awkwafina's like, "All right,
I'm driving."
She's
or whatever.
the driver. She's the driver. She's the winner. That's kind of one of her little skills is that she's a really good driver. And later on, everything seems to be pretty whatever for these characters. They kind of
he lives in a cramped apartment. He's doing his weird hand push-ups that he does, and Awkwafina's parents are always giving her shit about not committing to anything or whatever, which I thought was going to be an arc to her committing to a man or something, like they were going to get together because of that. Maybe that's what's going to be.
I like what it did. We'll get to the line of if you aim at nothing, you hit nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's really cool.
Yeah. It is a little bit like, I know it's fine. It's a cliche that we like, but it is a little bit the old Asian man gives wisdom, Confucius says.
Yes.
Stuff. I do get kind of tired of that. I just like, because like, as much as we might like to think there's like hidden wisdom, I'd like to be like, my great one is like, there's like a skit I saw on like a College Humor or something. A guy goes to the top of a mountain. There's an Asian man, and he goes like, "What is like the greatest truth of the universe?" He's like, "Bro, get the fuck out of here!" Like, I don't know you.
I don't have to tell you.
He goes back to just chilling, and I was just like, "Yeah," but no, I know what you're talking about. We'll get to that when we get to it.
They're both kind of seemingly aimless, seemingly at the length of their potential, and are just kind of coasting on this, and they're buddies and all that. And one day, while taking the bus, a group of mysterious thugs approach him, and
one of them plays Victor Drago, I think is his name, from Creed 2. Ivan Drago's son.
It's the guy who plays Razor Fist.
Yeah.
Because this guy definitely stands out.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's got a metal. He's got a metal hand. He doesn't have a metal hand at all. He's a sword hand.
Yeah,
with like vibranium.
You kind of could have written him out of the movie in a way.
Yeah, he's not really.
But
I get it. You need an iconic looking heavy. I was surprised to find out he wasn't a previous villain.
Yeah, I think that like so in Logan, you see a lot of these android men who have like weapon appendages on their arms. I thought he was maybe one of those.
Yeah.
But Marvel didn't have the rights to Fox when that movie came out, so this time they're like, now we do, so we'll use him here or whatever. But I don't know.
I thought Razor Fist was like a character.
I'm sure he is.
Might be. Either way, he shows up and they want this pendant that he has on his necklace.
Yeah.
And immediately he just serious up and starts beating their ass. And
Awkwafina's reaction to all this is always also pretty good, pretty cool as well.
She says like, "Who are you? Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
like I've known you for
when
years."
he does that split kick, she's just like, "What?"
Yeah, it's and that's again refreshing because it's like he's always had this ability. That bus gets tore up. There's one guy, the guy from Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he's just,
"Hey, Spider-Man, do a flip." It's that guy.
It's that guy. He's just filming
Twitch
it all,
streaming
it, and it gets like that. Kind of ends up being kind of catching him in the larger sense of things is that it goes viral. It's not really a big plot point, but it ends up going. He's busboy.
Oh yeah, he does become busboy.
He becomes busboy. And
I like as he's fighting in this fight scene as well. Like there's a part where like people almost fall out of the bus, and he's got to like use his skills to like stop them and stuff. It's a very great use of your. One thing I love about great martial arts films is not just like how cool and how aggressive and brutal can the fight sequences be. How can you use your surroundings in inventive ways? He does that a lot here. Which I think is really,
especially
is really
considering
good.
It's such a confined space as well as a bus.
Yeah, and even like talking about like how they had to film it. We had parts of the bus where there was just the side of the bus is cut off, and we just filmed like it's hard to film in places like that.
And it's also a nice use of the setting because it's all those high hills of San Francisco.
Yep,
I've been to San Francisco, and it's
exactly that.
It's exactly that. It's a lot of mission.
Ant-Man is in San Francisco, isn't it? Ant-Man 2 takes place in San Francisco.
I do not recall.
Because he's skateboarding on that big truck when he's going down. And then, like, I don't know if you saw Ant-Man and the Wasp or whatever. And when he becomes Giant Man, I think the San Francisco ferry.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it? I can't remember. I'm 99% sure.
Very much set in San Francisco, which makes sense. Large Asian population.
Yeah.
And it's also just a really cool setting.
Yeah.
Even though we're not there very long.
Yeah.
But so he finds out from this fight that they're going to go after his sister.
Yeah, he assumes because they had wanted this one, and his sister has another one.
Right. And of course, he and his sister did not leave on the best of terms. He does not know where she is. And this is where I kind of forget. He finds the postcard, right?
Yeah.
And that's,
he sent it to her. She sent it to him a few months ago or something like that. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's got the dragon.
It's not important, but like, yeah,
right. It ends up being not that important, but it gives him the motivation. They get ready to go to Macau, and Awkwafina's like, "Well, I'm coming along."
Yeah, this is the most exciting thing that's happened to me in the last like 6 months. Like, I'm not missing out.
I'm not missing out. You need someone with you. So they go to Macau and get involved in the underground circuit there.
There's a great joke that happens on the plane, which is as they're on the plane and they're talking about like his past or whatever, like, and then he came up to me and he said beef or chicken, and he goes like, what? Like,
yeah, he came up to
interrupting my
I'm afraid we're out of vegetarian.
Like,
two beefs.
I guess it's 2 beefs. It's all right. He also explains that his name is actually not Sean. It's Shang Chi.
And
she's like, your name is Sean. You changed it to Shang. It's about the laziest like alias you could have come up with.
It would be if Gina named to Gina.
Yeah.
It's where Awkwafina gets these good little jokes in.
Yeah.
We didn't mention earlier, but they do meet up with a couple of friends who have been very successful, and
they're constantly rubbing it in their face, kind of.
Whether they know it or not, it's kind of like they're like, y'all being dicks to us just because we're kind of like.
And then they go and sing karaoke or whatever.
Yeah, it's really cute. But now they're off on the journey. Oh, they also mentioned that like one time they got into a fight and she went up to some guy and started singing
Hotel California
because psychological
he didn't know what to do.
The dumb.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, smart people don't figure that out. Or yeah.
Yeah, if they were real ruthless, I feel like if these people were real ruthless killers, like interesting, head off, dead, but like it's not that kind of movie.
It's not that kind of movie. Yeah.
But so they go to the Fight Club. They meet the dude from, is it SNL or is it The Daily Show? Is it Roy Chen, one of the Changs?
Who plays the guy who runs the place?
Yes,
they all film it on.
He's
the
a
dark
big
web.
comedian, and he's from one of those. I want to say he's from The Daily Show or something.
Let's find out. Ronnie Ching.
Yeah, that's him.
Who is
also he's in Crazy Rich Asians.
He's in The Daily Show.
Yeah,
he's a Daily Show guy.
Yeah, he's really funny.
And he's kind of funny in this too.
Yeah, he looks like a weird Singapore dude, bro. Yeah, a bunch of face tattoos or whatever. And he goes, "Oh yeah, you're." This is where they say, "Oh, you're bus boy."
You're the bus boy. That's why that gets him in, and we see that like all these different little pods are essentially doing like Street Fighter fights.
Yeah,
like they just got fighters from all over. I want to know more of this. It's like you see like some.
We'll probably get more in the
sumo guy, and he gets annihilated.
We'll probably get more of this in the eventual Disney Plus 10 Ring spinoff that's going to happen or whatever. But like I agree. Like we see one of the. It's another sorcerer from like Doctor Strange's group of initiates or whatever, fighting just a bunch of thugs. Yeah, she's using magic or whatever.
But then you definitely see it when they're like, "Oh, this ain't even it." Like,
you're going to the big ring,
weird arena.
Yeah, and then you see Wong fighting the Abomination from the Incredible Hulk,
and it's that Abomination, except he's a little more design.
Yeah, they changed.
They retconned him.
They
to look
retconned his
more like a
design. That's what I
comic book
meant. Yeah.
character.
He's got the fish gills.
Right. He looks more like comic book.
And he goes, yeah, that hurt. You like this? He opens up a
Come
portal.
on, Emil.
Where his punch goes through
it.
the portal and punches himself in the face. It's always great. I always wonder, like, why don't you just do that all the time? When you're fighting your enemy, just whatever their portal is, or just like portal them into the Mariana Trench, like, and then just close it.
Going back to a very old meme, now you're thinking of portals.
Yeah. But and also at the end, I think it's like all a setup. Like you see him like back rubbing the abomination. The abomination's like, oh, that hurt or whatever.
It's not the first time Wong has fought Emil Bronsky, but that's
It isn't? What do you mean?
well, he's talking about, come on, Emil, come on, like they've done this fight.
Oh yeah.
Before
Okay,
they
all right.
know each other.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. It's weird that like the abomination's just there. Like you think he would be in some sort of government lab or whatever. Like
Maybe
how do you
they
get
sprung
out?
him. Maybe they sprung him and were just like, we need a cool fighter.
Wouldn't that concern like the authorities? Wouldn't Shield be like, there's a giant like equally dangerous Hulk monster out there?
Or maybe he's protected by the 10 rings, and the 10 rings just have more authority. Again, it's a big. We need to throw something that you've not seen in a while in, because we're about to expand this universe more. So hey, it's the Abomination. Remember him, ladies and gentlemen, when Edward Norton was
Briefly,
the Hulk?
yeah.
It's Tim Roth, everybody.
Yeah, is Tim Roth coming back? No.
He's credited, but
He is?
yeah, he
How is he
doesn't say
credited?
anything. I guess it's likeness. Don't know. He's credited. Tim Roth is
Maybe they had him
credited
come in to
as-
do the.
Yeah, Tim Roth is credited as Emil Bronsky.
Okay.
But we see Wong.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, that's what Wong's doing.
They don't talk. I figured they would say something. They just meet up at the end or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
well, he's not paying attention to.
and then
we
they
don't even
go-
know they're there.
Yeah, and they go, okay, everyone place your bets. You're going to fight. And then he comes in and he has no shirt on. And he's
He's like,
waiting to see his fighter, and it's his sister.
It's his sister. Great fight here.
Good fight. It did have a little bit of like the sexy woman beats the dumb man cliche. But I also do like, he doesn't like, it's weird because Shang Chi.
He's like, I'm not gonna fight you.
Yeah, but he also like, it's weird that she did not grow up being trained as an assassin. Not really. Whatever. She just kind of like followed and studied after Shang-Chi left or whatever.
We see that in the flashbacks is like she's not allowed into this patriarchal society her father's created, but she's practicing in the shadows.
Yeah. But Shang-Chi's been practicing since he was like, I don't know, 10.
Yeah.
And he is
Maybe younger.
It's either weird and not explained or deeply admirable how much he's able to escape his trauma and his programming. Because he's like, I have no interest in fighting you. So that I wave the cliche away because I'm like, he doesn't want to fight really or whatever. But I feel like we never quite get enough examples of his abilities as a fighter. There's a great like part where like Spider-Man like loses his Spidey sense or something, and he goes to Shang-Chi to get it back, and he like teaches him like moves and like I don't know if it's yoga or something to like do it. And like,
Is that in the comics?
yes, it's in the comic books.
comics. Okay.
And like so like he has.
Did I watch a different movie?
He has all sorts of great little things, and I feel like we kind of never get the opportunity. And I know it's his first movie, where
His
maybe
first
we'll see
movie,
more going on.
And we
but-
have to give the audience what they want, which is ass kicking and all that. But you get the idea.
Iron
that
Fist also brings down a helicarrier with his Iron Fist, and it's really dope, and it puts him out of in a coma for forever or whatever. But like, there's all sorts of cool things that I'm worried we'll never get to, and that's kind of one of them. Is like it's shown that he's really good at fighting or whatever, but like we never quite get the one where I'm like, this is your best fighter that you'll have, at least like your
Not
best
yet,
Earth
at
fighter.
least.
Like maybe like Gamora might be like more lethally as a hand-to-hand combatant, but like as far as the Earth-based Avengers are, he's the best you'll ever get.
As far as somebody who can go between different kinds of fighting styles, like he's adaptable. He can use Tai Chi if that's what it's called for. He could use standard martial arts if that's what it's called for. He could use,
His surroundings.
capoeira.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to see that. And what I like about her, is like she's got probably the coolest weapon, which is just does
Oh yeah.
the-
Those are good.
the
chain thing.
the chain launcher and all that, and she's able to pull people into each other. I'm like, that'd be what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
It's badly used. But they fight and they're trying to reconcile, at least make some sense of things. Not really a reconciliation, but she's still bitter. Like, you left me. You left me to die, essentially.
Yeah, I'd be mad if you left me there. If my brother left me somewhere like that.
But that's where the postcard comes up, and it's like, wait, I didn't send you a postcard. It was a trap.
Oh yeah, that's
trap.
right. Oh yeah, that's right. It's a trap, Admiral Akbar.
And then the 10 rings come in and just start their primary weapons are like stun rods and like they use a lot of stun capture things. It's some technology.
I think some guy goes like, the fuzz is here, and Wong like portals out or whatever.
Peace.
What is he worried about? Like, oh no, I've been kidnapped, and he's in jail. And he just goes portal.
Yeah. He's just like, I'm hungover. I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm just.
He leaves. I'm pretty sure he leaves the abomination there.
Oh yeah, we didn't care.
Yeah, what are they gonna do? What are you gonna tase him? It's not gonna work. But yeah,
that's when Tony Lone shows up.
We get a great fight sequence. We get a really good one where like
this is the scaffolding.
Yes,
because he tries to leave with Aquafina, but the John and his sister lock them out.
Yeah,
and they're like, we're out of time. We got to get out of here. Yeah. And they're like, the only way we can go is through the window.
Yeah, and she's really scared, and she's the part where like she's dangling off a piece of bamboo.
Yeah, that was actually pretty effective because I was like,
yeah, it's a really killer fight scene.
It's good.
There's also
I like seeing guys get knocked off and fall to their death.
Yes,
that's
but I wish
nice.
That's what I'm saying. Is like we showed that like. Yeah, he'll fight. He's kind of like Wolverine. He doesn't want to kill anybody, but if you push him long enough, he'll stop fucking around. And like when he's fighting these dudes and like throwing them off, I'm like, yeah, like I'm okay with that. I just wish we got a little bit more.
You have a bit of like whatchamacallit. You have a bit of like reasonable. Like you're able to make arguments that he didn't do it. He just kicks somebody to get him away from. Then they fall off the scaffolding.
I don't even necessarily mind that he does it. I'm like, these people are like lethal killers.
They're lethal killers, and they're also just disposable henchmen.
Yes.
So a few guys going falling off things. Neat.
And like for all we know, he could have killed Hand Swordman or whatever. Like that. There's a really awesome shot where like he kicks him and then jumps onto the other half of the bus, and the other bus just tumbles down.
Over.
And I was like, that dude's probably dead. And I was like,
of course he's not though.
Yeah, like I would have liked it if we got a rematch where he does, or maybe either him or the sister takes him out in a really cool and inventive way. Even a way like Casino Royale where like he leaves the thing on the assassin and boop, boop, blows him up. Something like that would have been cool.
Or at least dismantles that hand. Like breaks it into something so it can't be utilized.
Something that is like inarguable, like only this character could have done that. Like only Shang-Chi could have beat him like this. Black Widow has her leg twist move, and Shang-Chi has whatever this is or whatever. But Tony Leung shows up and he goes, I told them they wouldn't be able to bring you back if they tried. They
wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. Yeah. I'm glad I was right.
Which makes me go like, what if you were wrong? And they kill him.
Care. That point,
no, he would care. He's not a monster. Like he cares about his son. And
that is a kind of a weird thing I have with this character. As much as I really like this performance is, and we'll get to it, a few of the issues I have with Wenwu.
Sure.
Is that because he cannot be the villain, he's so ambiguous between being sympathetic and also tyrant.
You got to pick a lane. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the movie won't go because it's about family, it's about reconciliation, it's about realizing your wrongs and your rights and your delusions. And
he becomes like obsessed with finding the mom.
Right, and that's something I think needed a lot more.
Yeah,
a lot more,
or at least a lot more set up to like the loss has to be so horribly great that the obsession is justified. And you get a little bit of that when he kills those gang members or whatever. Like if he cared about her this much, obviously, but like there needs to be more tragedy.
Yeah,
or there
he's still too stoic.
Yeah,
it's a good stoicism, and like
it plays
the dinner sequence when they're all together. When they go to the Ten Rings lair, because that's what happens next, right? Is essentially that, like, because she Zhu Zhilan saves Katie, Aquafina, because she starting to fall to her death, and she's like, "No, I saved you," and they're just
which is another. I'm sorry, another cliche I hate. Go away to come back like 5 minutes later.
Yeah,
like, why? Anyway, keep going.
But essentially, like. The Emperor's here. He's going to take him from Macau back to the private lair.
We get some magic water.
Yeah, we get the magic water. But first, I like the dinner sequence because it's just a family having dinner.
And he talks about the importance of names.
Yes.
Yep.
He kills. He kills it. I had heard from another reviewer that it's like an actor like him can make all this very specific, very weird exposition so seamless.
Mm-hmm. It's almost not. It becomes in the hands of a good actor. It doesn't become exposition anymore. It becomes like a chance you get lost in characterization in a way where it's just like, it's not that it's exposition, but it's the way he explains the stuff that you don't mind it at all.
And that's definitely this sequence, but it makes you really like him because he's this man of tradition. He's this man of honor. He's this man that's like, who he talks about the Mandarin. That's where he talks about like the
entire world was afraid of an orange, as he says, or whatever.
It's like, do you know what the Mandarin means? It's like orange chicken. Like names mean everything. That's we need to take that back. Like the Mandarin. What is and it was just some British white guy for a terrorist.
Yeah.
It was humiliating, and that was the way he delivers it is not like a punchline. He delivers like he's just chatting. Yeah. And it's a really good sequence.
I get what you mean by you're saying like you need more justification for which arc he's going to have. Is he going to be irredeemable or is he going to be just lost and obsessed? Because later we're revealed that Trevor from Iron Man 3 is alive, but he's being kept just to be killed. And I'm like, that's kind of a turn from this dark. He tracked this guy down just to murder him, but kept him around. Because he liked the performance.
Like, you're a jester now, essentially. Like he likes his Shakespeare.
Yeah,
he's like, I started doing my Macbeth, and they're like, oh, that's pretty entertaining. So now I just do it every Monday.
Oh yeah, he talks about the woods of Dunestain or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, oh Duncan could hear, and because at first I was like, what's back there? Because you start hearing him groaning.
Did anyone ruin that reveal for you? Because I know you love that character.
No, I did not know that was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I knew they had the Disney Plus had that thing about something of the king or Long Live the King. That was like a little like side story featuring Trevor Slattery. But I had no idea he was in this movie.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, Big Kingsley.
Yeah,
oh, hey, what's up, man? I was not expecting this character to be in this. That was not spoiled for me.
Yeah, that's a good surprise.
That was delightful.
That's a tie into the MCU that I wasn't like. It doesn't feel. It is shoehorned in, but like I don't mind it because it's a lot of fun.
And it gives this character like a nice little closure, and like he went to prison, he got sprung from prison, now he's like I'm sorry, I did all that.
Yeah,
I'm now kind of comic relief, and I'm like, good, that's fine.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he was always comic relief.
And we get Morris,
the headless fluffy thing or whatever.
It's called a Hundun.
Yeah, my favorite thing is when he shows up. It's, oh my God, you are real! Like I thought it was just. I thought I had gone crazy. Like
you could see Morris.
Yeah, it's good stuff. My favorite part is he's like, why doesn't he have a head? He's like, shh. He covers his ears. Like he's self-conscious about that. Don't talk about that.
He's so funny in this.
Morris says your chances of successful are 50%. No, I'm sorry, 15%,
90%, not 19.
I'm sorry, yeah,
19.
It's good stuff.
So
Ben Kingsley.
We find out that what Wenwu wants is like there's only during a certain amount of time during the season that this gate opens in this maze.
You have like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
you have to be exactly the right spot.
We're gonna go there. We're gonna because they're keeping your mother. Your mother's still alive. So here's my problem.
Yeah.
Given how one thing the what is it called? The darkness that devours.
Yeah, it's the ubiquitous dark figure.
The darkness that devours. Michelle Yeoh talks about it later. Is so explicitly sinister and like amorphous evil. I feel like this character needs. Like he doesn't just need to be hearing a voice.
Yeah,
he seems he's been alive for 1,000 years. He seems like a fairly rational man. I would want more for the audience,
a physical manifestation,
yes, like a ghost or something. I'd also give that actress more work to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I was like, he's just hearing voice, and he's like, "Yep, no, that's it." I'm like, his descent into this obsessive madness does not make a lot of sense to me. It's not. It seems.
Yeah, and it also never
it's very cheap.
It never borders over into madness.
No,
which is what I would have preferred a little bit of sweating of like she is alive. I know she's there. Like I would have preferred like some madness.
On the even keel, the cool the whole time, and I'm like, when you are that, and you're also going between these big ranges of emotion and purpose. It gets kind of muddled.
You love your family more than anything, but also I'm gonna punch Shang-Chi into this river and probably kill him. Like for all you know.
Yeah, because that's and also I'm gonna destroy my wife's family and everything inside. He's essentially building his army for one more conquest beyond the world.
Yeah.
But it's for this idea, I'm getting your mother back. But I just, that motivation feels so fleeting, and it doesn't feel concrete.
Doesn't feel earned. Yeah.
Especially later when we hear the voice that it's using, and it's very clearly like this demanding, ominous voice, like, I'm in here, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's clearly manipulative, evil voice.
Yeah, that could have been hit a lot harder to where like you need to like.
I think if there was a spirit or something, some kind of physical manifestation that only he could see, that would be a little stronger.
Yeah, you either need to do something like that, or you need to make the tragedy of losing his wife unbearably awful.
Right.
Like you need to make it more trauma. I mean, because it's a Marvel
thing
movie, you're not going to get away with so much. But like making him like, does he find her dead body?
He does.
Yeah, but it's like
but it's all very kept close. Like you only see that one moment where he's like sitting. Like, I forgot what he's doing, but he's like sitting on he's sitting at a table, and like is just kind of like going over his plans and everything. That's supposed to be like right after, but there are no tears. There's nothing like that. And I'm, you know, again, he's a man who's been alive for 1,000 years.
Also, like the body is like, it's a Marvel movie, whatever. But like the body's
she's not gonna have like big purple bruises on her face and all.
Yeah, but like that would be more traumatizing. Like, I would believe that, but like you need one of those two things to make it earned or whatever. I do think they redeem it in the end. I'll get to it when we get to like the end,
right?
The final act. I think they redeem that in some way, but I'll agree with that.
Yeah. I felt that his motivation was not strong enough, and then because it's not, they have to have this globular mythological evil that has no stakes really, and probably will never be dealt with again because it's just so...
it's why it being a monster is unsatisfying.
Yeah,
it's because like it's a monster.
It's a monster that eats souls.
Whatever.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
whatever.
If it's a person, it's malevolent. A monster just
if it has a personality. Yeah. Or if it's
a monster just does like it doesn't know anything else.
And it also has such a way of destroying and killing that is so like bloodless, you know, it just steals your soul. And it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The T-Rex rips you in half. Right. Like, yeah, anyway, and this is 40 times larger or whatever, I don't know. But
the dragon does eat a lot of those little critters, but it's whatever.
No, those are bad guys though.
Those are bad guys though. And they're also just screechy little imps.
We get a cool fight scene of how they escape. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like in the car, like a car chasey fight scene. That's really kind of cool.
They got it, but they're kind of Speaking of Jurassic Park, they're kind of driving around like Jurassic Park vans.
Yeah, they steal Razorfist's car,
which is this Razor Fist. Yeah, or Razor Fist.
Yeah. Also, when they get to the bamboo forest, like Wenwu knows they've escaped, and he's like, "We'll just perfect. We'll follow them." They'll lead us straight to her. And I'm like, didn't we just establish that you can only get through this maze if you're standing here for 5 minutes and then it closes in on you?
Yeah.
How can they get through? How do they just follow him?
That's a big don't worry about
it.
Yeah, because it's like it only happens in this little blip, and it's like they get through at the skin of their teeth.
Well, you could easily fix that. It's like, if you find the waterfall, that's how you get through. It's behind the waterfall. Just go through the waterfall or whatever. But
I love
that whole sequence.
I love the moving forest.
Yeah, it's really, the whole sequence is really fun,
and it gives
Ben Kingsley like
Katie's driving ability something to do. Yeah, because it's like, she's good at driving.
She learns to shoot a bow and arrow mediocrely well.
I actually do like that.
I do too.
I hope that if her character returns, she
joins up with Hawkeye and whatever her name is, Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah. I immediately thought of that. I was like, another archer. We got archers here.
But she'll see Hawkeye and be like, you guys are so much better than me. Yeah. You've been practicing this. Like, you've been trained by assassins your whole life. I practiced for like 2 days.
Yeah, I practiced for 2 days.
But I'm pretty good.
I helped kill a dragon.
Yeah.
So the Hundun Morris is able to know where it is, and for some reason Ben Kingsley understands what he's saying because
oh my
madness.
God, we get the funniest, I think the funniest jokes. One of the funniest jokes where he's talking about acting or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and he's talking about Planet of the Apes. And he's talking.
Oh, it's so good. He's like, "Mommy, how do they get those apes and the horses? You really think they were actually
actually acting?" Yes, and I was like, "Okay, man." I laughed so hard.
Kingsley sells it so well.
He's so sincere about it.
He's so sincere
He's
about
like,
it.
And he's like, I can feel like the daughter's about to say something, and Steve Lee was like, Dad, just let him have it. Just let him keep it.
He got this far with it. Let him.
And he has a bunch of great little jokes where he's sitting with Morris, and he goes, "We're sitting with the complicated mind of a creature that you can never possibly hope to understand." And he says, "You're good to go. You can go now." Or whatever. Like he's trying to tell him to be patient or something. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, you
but
need to take a left now.
Yeah, it's a lot of like that. Really, he's super composed.
And then
Morris says, "Speed up." And he goes, "What? Speed up!"
Mommy, I'm coming.
Yeah. But they make it through the waterfall, and we go to Pandora. I mean, Talau. It's a little the production design's a little like it's very samey as a lot of other mystical places or whatever.
You see,
I do like those big food lions.
Yes,
they're really cool.
Those are really cool, and I'm glad they're there because I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
And a lot of nine tails.
You see a lot of kitsune, nine tails looking things. One time he says that bird's on fire. It's like, oh, it always is.
Yeah.
That's just how they are here.
Yeah.
You see other kunduns running around or hunduns running around. When I saw those, I'm like, I've seen those utilized in so many different media. I think they're even in Super Mario.
Probably.
Yeah.
There's a lot I like here, and there's a lot I'm like the movie doesn't take a hard right turn, but it takes a right turn here.
Yeah.
Where like it kind of
into the world of swords and sorcery.
Which is not, it's not that it goes into the swords and sorcery that I don't like necessarily. It's that I feel like we are given a lot of reveals really quickly that we have to just sort of roll with. And like, hello, I am your mother's aunt who has never been talked about or shown in this movie. Mm-hmm. And I will now teach you the same stuff that your mother knew that I just know. Stop asking questions.
And I am played by this incredibly noticeable, amazing actress. Mm-hmm. I was just like, all right, Michelle Yeoh is in this.
Yeah, she's great.
She's always great to see.
But I was like, all these things start happening like all at once or whatever. Like, where we make our clothes. I do like that he gets his outfit from like the dragon scales or whatever.
Right. When I saw that, I'm like, there it is. There it is. There's the iconic thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the movie the movie takes its foot off the gas a little bit here and kind of just starts to become a little more wayward. We get some we get the reveal that Shang Chi, when he was younger, his father they killed the Iron Gang, but the leader eluded him, and he sends Shang Chi to kill him. And he says, "Katie, like, no, of course not. I went home." And then we get the reveal that he actually did track this guy down and did kill him,
right?
And that he is.
And then he's like, "I changed my name. I wanted nothing else to do with this."
Yeah, but it
would have been cool to kind of see that.
Yes, that too. I was also going to say like his. It's not that his acting is bad, but the whole scene kind of lands with a big thud.
Yeah,
and kind of feels.
I almost walked away from it not knowing if he did or not. The lines didn't really land.
Like this is like where like the safety of Marvel hurts both the story and the performance.
Right.
You could have been like I killed a man and then like his wife came home, and like I had to hear her screams for. I still hear them in my nightmares.
Yeah, or very much like what happened to me. His son was there and saw everything.
And I wonder, like, did I perpetuate the same thing that happened to me?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of...
You could say, you
could have any number of ways...
Any reference to, like, there's blood on my hands, like anything visceral.
Yeah. Instead they just have him say...
Like, I walked away.
They just have him say exactly what he's feeling. When there's ways you could have either written it to where you could show us, or you could have him tell it in a way where it's not like, I did this, this, and this, I am bad. You could be like, I did this, I feel all these things now, and I felt them for the rest of my life or whatever. Like, I don't know. It just didn't. It's not that it's insincere. It's that it's kind of contrived and bland.
And it really doesn't. It almost ends up, for his character as a whole and everything, it almost feels pointless. Like because it doesn't have this weight to it.
Yeah, I think my frustration is that it's such an easy fix.
Yeah,
anyone could have written that scene better to where you're like, oh Jesus, that's way worse. Yeah, now
we can see why you tried to stay Sean for so long.
Yeah, and also the horror
close to that killer.
The horror that it's also like he was a 16-year-old boy. And like he was sent after to kill a
trained assassin,
mercilessly kill like a man or whatever. And you're like, yeah, he's a bad guy, but like all the things we do in our lives have consequences. And like I created enemies. I'll give you an example of this. That I think an example that does it better. I'm going back to DC now. In Aquaman, at the beginning of the movie, Aquaman there's a big attack on a submarine led by Black Manta and his dad, who's that I guess he's Black Manta at this time or whatever.
Right.
And as they're and as they're fighting, Aquaman, they try to use a bunch of weapons on him. They don't know that he's like a powerful metahuman. They don't work, and he throws I don't know, a piece of rubble, like a stick, piece of metal rubble,
right.
and it kind of impales his shoulder into his dad's shoulder into the wall, and he kind of he's like, oh god, it really hurts, and like Black Manta goes over and tries to help him, and he goes, Dad, or whatever, and then he goes up to him and goes, that's your son, and he goes, shame on you, and then he goes, he rips the thing out, and Black Manta's dad goes like, you bastard, and as he's climbing up to watch out, Black Manta's dad shoots a grenade at him, and he dodges it, and it lets the water in. And like it causes a slow rupture in the hole, and like a big torpedo collapses onto his dad's legs, and he's trapped there. And he goes, "Please," and he goes, "You can't leave him like this." And Aquaman says, "Like you killed innocent people, and you can ask the ocean for mercy." And he leaves him there,
right?
And it's it's a really great scene for Yahya Abdul-Mateen because he's trying to lift it up off him. It's really and his dad tells him to go. He's like, I'm not leaving you, and he pulls a bunch of grenades out and he yanks the pins out of him and he goes, go. And it's a really great scene where he gets out and you hear the of his dad dying. And then later on in the movie, Black Manta comes back.
Right.
And they have a big fight, and he kind of really hurts.
These repercussions have
he hurts Arthur, and he's talking with later on he's talking with Amber Heard, and he goes he goes like a while back, and he goes, a man was attacked on a submarine, and he goes, and I had a choice to save somebody, and he goes, and I chose not to because he was a bad man, and he goes, and I didn't think anything of it, and he goes, I didn't realize I created an enemy when I did that.
Mm-hmm.
My actions had consequences. Wink, wink. Like that's a better way of making, like, if you set something, in this case, you don't even have to set it up earlier. You can just either show the flashback like you said,
right, or
show the anguish and the fear or the consequences of what he did, and like, I don't want to live like that anymore. Instead, we just get him kind of flatly saying, and it's not that he's not a good actor, but it's just kind of flat.
Very flat. It is very kind of there, and then it's over, and then we've got higher stakes to deal with.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really change their relationship. It doesn't really change him as a person. He's already a redeemed character.
Yeah.
He's not having to really redeem himself. He's trying to just he's trying to stop his father.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, he's not even really trying to redeem him, because he makes a point. He's like, I'm going to have to kill him. He even says that. Like if it comes down to, I'm going to have to kill my father.
Yeah. That's also an arc that they don't follow through on.
Yeah.
But I kind of I'll get to it in a second.
Yeah.
We'll get to it when it actually happens. But so
at this point they make it to the village.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of,
she's learning to use the bow.
we're all having training montages. He's learning with Michelle Yeoh about,
I like this. He's learning how to fight like his mom.
And there's a moment where like I think it's later, but it's like a moment where he kind of has the same expression that she does, like when he starts to realize it, that his mother had. Mm-hmm. And it's very sweet. Like these sequences are very, very nice. Mm-hmm. And
so eventually Wen Wu arrives with his army of miscreants or whatever, mm-hmm. and it's like, you're keeping my wife here, and he's like why would I keep my own sister here? Like, also, it would have been nice if he was like, I didn't even know she had a sister. She never talked about you.
Right.
This movie never talked about you either.
Who are you?
This is all a lie. This is all bullshit or whatever. Like, you could have done more. Like, if he was slipping into madness or whatever, like constant, like a sweaty mess or whatever, you could have been like, I don't believe any of you or whatever. I just wish that we got more of that.
I do like when the older man, talks about, don't you talk this way. He's like,
I've lived 1,000 of your lifetimes old, or 10 of your lifetimes old, man.
He says, stop that there, young man.
Young man. Yeah, he calls him.
I've lived 10 of your lifetimes.
Yeah, something like that.
Know your place.
Good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Eventually, and he's like, all right, well, just kill him. Just start. And they a big battle ensues. And we get some pretty cool fighting between him and Shang Chi. And
I will notice that, like, when they first meet up, he goes to the palace, a little place there, and like places a little incense in her memory and everything. He gives her respect, and while they're about to start fighting, in the background you can see the fight going on, but it kind of just looks like a bunch of people just like practicing. Like,
yeah, I did see it. Like, I know exactly what you're saying, and I saw some of that.
I kind of went.
Some of the extras are like not giving it their all.
Right.
The director.
It's just off view, and it just looks like a bunch of people are like practicing, just like manic choreography.
Yeah.
I was like,
Look, we dream on a budget sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I also like him honoring the wife. I thought it was good, but I also was like, again, he's really stoic. Like, would someone who is obsessed like this be this like?
And if he thinks she's still alive, he would probably look at it and be like, this is all so lovely. It's so quaint considering she's just around that corner.
Yeah, yes,
Something like that.
Yeah. They fight, and eventually, like as they're going, the dad stops taking it easy on him,
Yeah.
and he just demolishes him into the water.
I noticed something.
Yeah.
And it actually just dawned on me earlier. And I'm like, I wonder if this is going to play, if Ten Rings training and all that is going to play into the Doctor Strange world. Because whenever Doctor Strange does that, like that chest hit,
Yeah, it turns you into the astral projection.
it's the same kind of choreography as some of these punches. Where it's like they just kind of like go in midair. And I was expecting to see a soul fly out. And I'm like, those are shot almost exactly the same.
Sure.
I think there's got to be some crossover with that. Like,
I'd love a Shang-Chi. Like Wong is kind of our connective tissue in this movie
Yeah.
to the rest of the MCU. So I'd love to see, and also like Shang-Chi does have like, this is the thing about like, this is why the bitterness of those Netflix shows still haunt me is like, a character like Iron Fist does have like mystical connections. Like he can heal him. Like if he meditates, he can heal himself really well. Like the power of like Kunlun kind of does like tangentially cross over with Karmatage and the Sorcerer Supreme and all these things. And Shang-Chi is kind of the same way. You could kind of make a little circle, like a little like the same way the Spider-Man is his little mini universe, and like Captain America probably has his mini universe. This could become a little triumvirate of our mystical universe, and the Guardians have their own cosmic universe.
But in some of these cases, they end up becoming these Venn diagrams where it's like,
Yes.
this half of it will eclipse into this half
Right.
of it. And I think we're very close to that. I just noticed that. I was like, anytime I saw, just like punch and then someone starts flying, I'm like, that's just like,
It feels
yeah, just so I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think they might be making a visual connection there, and we'll see more of it through Wong.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually he takes the kid gloves off and just punches him through the river.
Yeah.
He Moseses him pretty
Yeah,
bad.
I would have been like, "Hey, remember you're trying to bring your wife back, right? How's she gonna react when you murdered your son? She's gonna be happy? Oh no, she's not. Oh, all right.
Because
This is where like some of the characterization just gets wonky with him.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like
again, he's so good, but he is so stoic throughout that this passion to do this fades, and it just becomes raw determination.
which is fine. Like I said, my frustration is that it's an easy fix.
Yeah.
You can tweak these in the screenplay probably really easily. And he goes over to the other side of it and starts wailing on the wall.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everyone has chosen somebody to fight. I do like also that Ben Kingsley's showing them how to play soccer at one point.
Oh, yeah,
there's
that's
a very
right.
brief thing. Mostly he stays out of it. That there's a great sequence where he's laying dead and Morris comes over.
Like,
and
oh no, he's gone.
And he's just like, I'm acting.
I'm acting. Get in here, you idiot.
Get in here. Start doing the same. Falls back over. I'm like, oh, that's pretty fun.
Cute. I wish we got more of those jokes. This part of the movie could use some more
levity.
Some more
Not
of
too much, but
just some more of Ben Kingsley's levity.
right.
Like
he disappears a little bit.
Yeah,
In this
he
sequence.
survives till the end.
Yeah,
I wonder
makes
where
it.
he goes after this. Like, whatever. Maybe he's
he
hanging
walks-
around the Ten Rings compound.
Sure,
or
why
whatever.
not?
Yeah,
He doesn't
But-
have to worry about anyone executing him anymore. He
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
have to be
probably a
anyone's
big
jester.
probably a big relief or whatever.
Maybe he'll be like the speaker for the Ten Rings under the sister.
We
but-
get to the part of the movie that I was worried wasn't going to happen, and if it did happen, would be written out by the end of the movie. Shang-Chi shows the dragon wakes up or whatever. Should have been Shao Lao, the Undying or whatever, but
right,
I'll take whatever.
The shadow, the devourer of the dark or whatever. Yeah. It's a giant.
Also, as soon as his dad starts wailing on the wall, we see the little pterodactyls come out. You think he'd be like, oh, maybe she's not behind there.
What is that?
Yeah, maybe
Anyway.
I shouldn't be doing it. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But he comes over there and they start fighting again, and he starts to use the Ten Rings against him. Because I was like, if we're gonna keep doing Shang-Chi, he's gonna need something to separate him from any number of people who just punch people in the face.
Right.
And I was like, he's gonna need those 10 rings, and he gets them,
and he gets it through taking it, because the one thing
and doing
is
it like his mom.
that Michelle Yeoh is like when they first start sparring, she's like, hey, relax.
Just like calm down. Yeah.
Yeah, take those fists and open them to possibility, and you never know what you'll be able to do.
Yeah,
She doesn't say that, but that is
she says it like it's kind of like all his dad knows. All he uses the rings for is to dominate and to be like he attacks everything head on.
Tight
But
fist.
what we do is like we redirect energy here, and that's literally I think what she says. Like we redirect people's natural forces or whatever. That's what he learns to do.
Right.
And he gets the 10 rings
because he was one to know. I want to know how to beat him.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is how you beat him, but it's not.
This is
about
how she
beating.
This is how she beat him.
Right. This isn't about beating. It's about because in a way she does. His mother beats Wenwu.
She beats
but
him without killing him.
She wins him over.
Yeah.
Though she wins the war with him emotionally, philosophically.
Yeah.
And so he's going to try to do the same.
Yeah, it's a really great fight too. I didn't say much about it, but it's a really cool fight scene, and like the really awesome, inventive ways they use those rings are a lot of fun.
They're really cool.
The way you can be falling and use them to buffer your landing or whatever.
And
really
you're
cool.
like whipping them around or anything, or you could just shoot one or shoot the other. But when they all come together, it's like a cannon punch.
Yeah, and
that's when you know he's not messing around, because that's when he like gets them all together. He's like, I'm not kidding, and that's when he just punches him
Into the
Moses
water.
style
Yeah.
through the ocean.
I was kind of
Which
wondering.
at that point he's falling in,
yeah,
and that's when like the dragon awakens.
yeah.
Him coming out of a dragon, kind of cool.
It's cool.
It's really cool.
I'm
It's
not
really
saying
triumphant.
I'm not saying that none of it's cool. I'm just saying it feels a little bit like I've seen some of this before.
Right.
Or whatever.
It would have been cool if it was just like a fighting spirit and not like an actual physical dragon.
Or like not to be like if we're leaning into like a lot of the like I poo-pooed the old man gives wisdom recently, but like you could have him like as they break it down, instead of a giant dragon, you can make it like a demon from Eastern mythology, like a Tengu or something, and have them be like, oh shit, I was wrong this entire time or whatever. And like you could imagine the dragon fighting something that isn't just a giant monster.
Yeah.
Like a scary, powerful, like man-sized dark demon or something.
Some kind of some kind of like multi-armed sort of representative.
Yeah, that'd be
of
cool.
something.
A Merilith from, I don't know, our Merilith are from Dungeons and Dragons. They're not
Well,
a thing.
Dungeons and Dragons takes from everything. it
Yeah,
can,
that's true.
So.
But or Jinns aren't really like.
Jinns are more Arabic.
Yeah, but there's another. I keep having a Tengu or an Oni demon or something like that.
Even though that gets a little more Japanese
Yes, I
and
know.
Korean.
Well, you think of something, Matt.
I don't know. Like dragons are cool. Like, and it's a cool looking dragon. And it gave me Spirited Away vibes a little bit.
Also,
too.
like if it's a man,
because it's a water dragon.
yeah, if it's like a man demon, we could keep him around. We could bring him back. We could tie him into different stuff. Anyway,
It'd be a stand.
yeah,
like from
but
JoJo's.
But so as they're fighting, the big giant demon gets out, and we get my favorite.
We get a few kills, like these creatures take souls. These
that's pretty cool.
The fighting the trainer guy with the mask gets his soul sucked.
Yeah, big
letdown.
big mistake.
Yeah.
You should have had someone else kill
Just
him.
drops.
Should have had
The old man gets it, and that's when Katie realizes she's on her own, and she's got to aim small, miss small.
I like that. Yeah,
Because he says they tell her she can't go, she can't go, and then at the last moment he just says, "Don't die."
Yeah,
Fine. Don't
man
die.
of few words. That man. But I feel like
Guano.
the trainer in the mask should have been killed by Shang Chi, or should have been killed by the sister.
Yeah.
One of the others.
Because he's a representative of the cruelty they faced.
Yeah,
And
and
should
like
have fought him.
and it would have been
feels so meh.
It would have been nice if, like, throughout the movie, we would have, like, instead of just random flashbacks to his training, flashbacks to training with him, and that he was a brutal taskmaster, and like nothing was ever good enough, and this man like was to mold you into a killer, and then you beat him, and maybe you beat him in a particularly like fruitful way that's like even he wouldn't have been able to think of
right,
something like.
because he's representative of the assassin's way, and it
Feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But we get what was my favorite part. And this is like, it's weird how like, even though I do agree with a lot of your criticisms, I felt this part was really strong. His dad's going to die. He looks at his sad son and he gives him the rings.
That was fine.
That was good.
That was fine. Again, it's mixed up in all of this sort of like, it feels so much like a weird closure. And then they just kind of just leave his body too.
I wish we had more. I wish we had more. It's like I see it on both sides. It's like I wish we had more time for him to the same way I wish that his dad had more outward showings of the loss of his wife. I would have liked to see Shang-Chi's sense of loss. Like I didn't like him,
but
he was.
I didn't get a chance to save him.
Yeah,
and he could have been saved. I didn't get a chance. So there's not that doesn't really happen. But it is a great moment where he's getting his soul sucked by the demon, and he's like, he entrusts him, and then there's the dragon fight. And like these dragons are fighting each other. There's some punches.
I really don't know what to say about it other than like it's exactly what you think about.
Katie shoots the arrow. It's trying to suck the soul of the dragon itself, and it's like once it does that, it'll be unstoppable. And we see it like going up its body like it's being drunk from a straw. And Katie shoots the arrow, and it just cuts through the throat, and dragon gets back. And there's something in the water, like a tentacle creature or something in the water. The water is reacting to keeping it down.
I don't remember that.
Anytime the shadow, the soul devourer gets close to the water, like the water comes up, starts binding it.
I remember a big old whirlpool, but I don't remember that.
Maybe that's what it was. It looks like the waves are trying to bind it. Like there was something inside, like an octopus or something. Maybe. There's a lot of CGI going on.
We get some nice stuff with Shang-Chi and the sister, where I wish that we got again. I just wish we got more. It's not that you couldn't have done it, you had enough time to do it, but like where they're on the dragon or whatever, and she's like, you have to let me go, and he's like, I'm not letting you go again or whatever.
Right.
I wish we just got like, she only says that to him like once. I just don't feel like it's built up enough for me to have the emotional impact that I really want to have when I see something like that. But I thought it was good, for what it was.
And then they build up the power and just
he does the Kamehameha,
right?
And
which Awkwafina calls.
Yeah, that's exactly what she says later. This is my only problem with this scene is like it's fine. It's like the third act of Iron Man. Like it's fine. It's not horrible. It's fine, but it's not as good as all the other two acts leading up to it or whatever. Yeah. I think the problem is like it's a giant monster.
Yeah.
Like
giant monster.
You only do so much with
as
that.
far as I know, has no connection to the Marvel universe at all.
Or even like Chinese lore and stuff that I mean, I could be wrong about that. Chinese people, let me know in the audience if I'm wrong or whatever. But like, I'm pretty sure it's not out there or whatever.
And if it is, it's an amalgamation of a bunch of different ideas or something. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I'm speaking out of ignorance.
Yeah.
In this movie, it is just an evil shadow soul-sucking creature.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not because all the other references to Chinese lore and mythology I recognized, like the Fu dogs and or the Fu lions and the dragons and the foxes. Like I was like, I know all those things, and I was like, but I don't know this. That's which makes me feel. Yeah, I feel like some sort of evil demon or whatever would have been better.
Right.
And also, it would have given an opportunity for Shang-Chi and his dad to fight something together.
Yes.
And then
because we don't get that chance,
die or whatever.
Yeah, sacrifice himself or whatever.
Yeah,
I thought that thing was about to bite his head off.
So did I.
I was like, that would be a lot.
There's a lot of. I mean, for such a good movie, I think the third act just kind of it doesn't underwhelm. It whelms.
It is very whelmed.
Yeah.
It does not over. It does not immediately under because it's not like I wasn't expecting this. The movie builds up to it.
Also, the thing I was worried they were going to do with the 10 rings is when he shot them at the dragon, they were going to destroy them, and he's not going to have the 10 rings anymore. No, I'll be like, big mistake.
That would suck. Because now he doesn't have any kind of remarkable. I mean, other than he's a badass, he's got a cool costume and all that, but he need those rings. Those rings are cool. They're not made just to. They're not corruptive ability. They're corruptive,
and they're distinct from any other thing I've ever seen in the universe. Like I would never see. I've never seen a piece of mystical stuff or gadgets or whatever that work quite like they do. And what all they can do, we don't even know what all they could do yet.
As we know from the stinger scene.
Yeah.
But they save the day. They wish out well for the souls of the dead. And they kind of get closure for their father and their mother. And they part ways. Awkwafina and Sean go back to San Francisco, and they
maybe that smug couple.
They show them up, telling the story like, "You're mocking me. You're mocking me. This is not. I know I was."
Sean shot a giant Kamehameha fireball and killed the thing. I shot it in the eye.
I shot it with an arrow.
And she doesn't believe him. And then there's a big old a Doctor Strange portal opens up behind her.
And then Wong comes out.
Shang Chi.
And it's great because he does exactly what you want, which is he pushes them aside and finishes their cocktail and is like you won't believe this.
You need to come with me or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that where the movie ends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And the first. Okay. So let's get to the post credits, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Stinger scene. First Stinger scene is the one I like. The one with the 10 rings at the end was fine, but like the one that I wanted was like, how does I have questions? I would like them answered, and their way of answering is like, we don't know either. Like, so we
wanted that. We'll get to that one.
Yeah.
But then the first one is
we get some of the Avengers are there via hologram or whatever.
It's Captain Marvel and
Bruce Banner, who is
not Hulk.
Yeah, he's not Hulk anymore, which makes me think this is going to take place around She-Hulk or after She-Hulk or before, because in the She-Hulk stuff we've seen, he's also
Bruce Banner.
Or do we see him as Hulk? We probably see him both or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But he's not permanently stuck as Hulk as we thought he was in Endgame.
Yeah. Somehow, we don't know yet, but we'll see. And they're talking about, like, what are these rings? Where are they from? All the questions that I had about them. And they were like, well, and he goes, are they Chitauri tech? They're definitely not from Earth or whatever. And she goes, the energy signature is way older. So these things are very
like, how long
old.
did you say your father had them? About 1,000 years, and these are much older than that.
Yeah. So we get some definitely questions. He's like, yeah, I'll have to look more into that. And he goes, sorry, I got to go. So Brie Larson,
in the next movie.
Brie Larson leaves or whatever. We'll see you in the next movie or whatever. And Mark Ruffalo was like, all right, well, welcome to the circus, kids. Basically saying like, hey, we're going to see these guys again, and we'll team up with the Avengers.
And whatever the 10 rings are, they have some extraterrestrial or super spiritual connection that we'll find out in another time.
Yeah. Which I'm totally cool with. And
I hope it isn't like this thing that's like it's an extraterrestrial things that kind of steals some of the magic from it being from such a particularly like Asian mythology background to be like, aliens that are probably coated white did it.
I think that I think that you can have your cake and eat it too with it if you just write it. You could do like they were alien technology, but like our ancient mystics blessed them with power of blah 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 blah.
Sure.
Or ancient alien
you gotta
metals
be careful,
or whatever.
or it's going to end up being an episode of Ancient Aliens,
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, white coated aliens solved all the situations in non-white nations.
Or you could have them be like you could have them be spiritual magic, but that is from a different dimension or from a different planet.
I would prefer that.
That has like its magic doesn't just work the way it works here.
Just hopefully it's not something that's immediate like extraterrestrial and will be related to like the Skrulls or something, because I feel like that's going to be a big part coming up is going to be the Skrulls.
If they were the Skrulls, I think Marvel would have said something.
Yeah,
she would have been like, I know I see this all over the tech that these guys have, so maybe also, it could be funny if like we revealed they are alien in origin, and they like the aliens who make them or whatever are there, and they're like, "You guys use these to fight? Like, you know what we use these for? Like we use these to prop the door open or whatever, like something ridiculous like that.
These are construction equipment.
Yeah, we use this to dig." I was like, I guess they are indestructible. Maybe we should have used them in our horrible civil wars that we had, like or something like that.
Oh, you don't even know. You don't even know what the footwear does.
Yeah, yeah. So that's cool. And then they end with singing "Hotel California." It's pretty funny. And then we get another stinger, which is the only rule of this stinger is that Shun Jialing or whatever her name is, his sister.
Yeah.
Goes back to the
Zhu.
Yeah, she goes back to the compound, and then she is opening up the 10 rings to be a more inclusive assassination.
Girl boss, gaslight gatekeep girl boss. we allow women killers now as well.
And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Well,
but
she lied to them because they said like she's going to go find the rest of the 10 rings and destroy it and like shut it down.
Did she say that? Or did they say that?
Shang Chi says that. It's like, yeah, and then she went off to dismantle the rest of the 10 rings.
Well, she could technically still dismantle it while keeping it around or whatever.
I think that's going to become a thing of trouble later, where it's like I'm not destroying it. I want this power, man.
Yeah, that's a big yikes. We'll see.
We'll see.
It could be cool.
They're leaving it up to a potential for power and all that. This won't be the last time we see the 10 rings in action.
Yeah.
No, it won't be the last time we'll see Shang-Chi and.
Well, they said
Katie.
that's the thing at the end of the movie that kind of stuck in my craw. It says like, it said the 10 rings will return. I'm like, usually they say like whoever the character of the movie, like Captain Marvel will return or Thor will return. I'm like, it says the 10 rings. I'm like, what about Shang-Chi? I want to see Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I want to see Shang-Chi.
When is he showing up? Where would you like to see him show up? Would you like if you had to see him pop up and team up with another character for a little supporting thing?
I think that, I mean, obviously, like if they finally went ahead and just brought in Iron Fist, that would make a lot of sense. I think Moon Knight maybe as well.
That'd be cool, yeah.
I I think that as we get closer to the arc of whatever phase 4 is going to be, when people start teaming up, I want him to be front and center in that team. Like with
I agree.
with Kate Bishop, with Yelena, with
Who's Kate Bishop again?
she's Haley Steinfeld.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And yeah. So yeah.
I don't want to break it to you. I don't know if Kate Bishop is going to be in the Avengers. She might just hang out with Hawkeye, but like
Okay,
I don't think she's got. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see
what happens.
Tell me what you think when you finish Hawkeye.
Okay,
I'll be like, I'll see what happens.
But you know, when we start bringing out this new crew of young guns,
he definitely, with those rings, has the potential to be like a real, like front and center kind of player in that new team. So yeah, I'd like to see that.
Whatever.
There's no way
Parker's
they're
next.
bringing Iron Fist in, which just makes me sad. But I think they would work on really well. But I would love to see him like team up with something really outlandish. Like maybe he has to, like Thor needs help or something, and it's like, oh well, the only person who has these answers is going to be this dude with these rings. Should you go check him out or whatever? And it's like him and someone crazy and outlandish like Thor or something. Or maybe Thor shows up in his next movie for a second or whatever. I don't know.
We'll see.
I'd enjoy that.
There's now a lot of opportunities for this character.
Yeah, that's the thing that I felt the best about at the end. And I was like, there's a lot of places you could take this character, and I would be down for all of them. And they don't have to all be steeped in the Chinese mysticism. That being said, I did think it was really cool that we got a movie that was, I've always said, like, you know, like I'm a Middle Eastern kid. I look very Middle Eastern. I got the black hair and the olive skin. And I can imagine a bunch of like, you know, Asian, like I'm Asian too, but like a bunch of like, you know, Chinese, Japanese or Korean kids watching this movie and be like, you know, it's great to see someone that looks like me fronting a big giant blockbuster movie that kicks ass and takes names.
It recalls, and again, I don't want to just say it recalls Black Panther just because it is.
Well, Black Panther is also that.
But it is also that. But
kids.
also, like, what makes this movie unique is that this movie, much like Black Panther, is very much its own story. Mm-hmm. And yes, you know, you got S.H.I.E.L.D. running around in it and all that as well with Martin Freeman.
Technically, he's like CIA or whatever.
He's ex-CIA, but he's right. Okay, yeah, that's true. And like the only other thing would be like, you know, Victor Claw, and
Ulysses Claw. Yeah. He's not S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, he's not S.H.I.E.L.D.
He's
but
just a criminal.
But he was in previous.
Oh yeah, he's in Age of Ultron.
He's in Age of Ultron. But long story short, like those are very interconnected, insular stories.
Yeah.
And so Shang-Chi works as this action adventure fantasy story that kind of, for me at least, tapers off towards the end.
Yeah, I agree.
And that I wish its villain was a little more defined.
It starts off so strong, and then it just by the end of it, like it's the third act is like it's fine. Yeah. But
it's all
which
there.
almost feels worse than being bad or great.
Yeah.
Like
I'm glad it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
bad.
glad
But
it's not bad.
Yeah, but like you would almost prefer like I wish it was either way worse or way better. Like,
yeah, when it's just,
at least then I would have more to say about it.
It's like rewatchability. It's like yeah, I think I'd rewatch the first half of the movie and then go make a snack.
Yeah.
Or something.
I mean, I would just as the dragon comes in, I'm just like, it's whatever.
Yeah,
it's fine. I've seen better dragons and better things, you know, or whatever. I've seen better dragons and worse things.
Dragons and worse things.
Yeah, so, but do you want to talk?
I'll look forward to where Shang-Chi goes.
We want to talk recommendations and wrap it up?
Oh, I don't know if I have anything right now.
I kind of have some things I might want to talk about.
You go ahead. You do yours.
Okay.
I don't have anything right now. I'm trying to think of those for next time as I start thinking about movies I saw this year.
Oh, that's fine. It doesn't even have to be anything like recommended that you've recently seen or whatever. It can be whatever you want.
It's true. That's true. That's true.
I'm not picking two because I don't want it to go too long.
I think I know something I watched recently.
Okay, hold on. Here, you go first, and I'll think of my thing.
So I just rewatched it. And surprise, it's a Gundam thing.
Oh, nice.
Me and a friend.
Do you like Gundam? Oh.
You would be surprised to hear this. So Christmas came and went pretty quick, and for a lot of people in the Gundam world, it's time to rewatch a couple of Christmas-centered favorites.
Are there Christmas-centered Gundams?
Yes, there is.
Oh, cool. Is there a Gundam Christmas special?
No, there is not. Well, one of those like SD, like childish ones may be Christmas related. I don't know.
Right.
But there are ones set during Christmas, or at least, so like probably one of the more famous ones is Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, the sequel movie.
Oh yeah.
That is very winter Christmas themed, takes place during Christmas. Everyone's wearing warm outfits and there's snow and everything. And that's not the one I'm talking about. Everyone else is talking about there's like, it's time to rewatch Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket. And that came out in 1989. It was the first OVA from Gundam. So
Is this in the Universal Century?
yes.
Okay.
This takes place in the same year as the original series before the war ends. But it has nothing to do with our main characters. It has nothing to do with that. This takes place on a small neutral colony
In the North Pole.
well, it starts with one of my favorite Mobile Suit sequences where a group of aquatic type Mobile Suits attack a Federation base.
The crab people.
They have crab. Yes, they have crab things. The High Gog is one of my favorite suits of all time.
Get rid of them.
I'll show it to you. It's great. It's one of my favorite sequences. And this elite team go in to fight at this Federation base in Antarctica, and they whoop ass, but they fail to stop the rocket from going to space. The rocket has the Gundam on it.
Yeah.
This Gundam is made to pretty much, they don't say it, but it's meant to be given to Amuro. So it's kind of retroactive. It's when the UC stuff starts making stuff that's kind of like.
But this is near the
reformed.
end of the war.
Yes.
So his Gundam's kind of falling apart by that point.
And they don't know that the war is going to end in a couple of weeks anyway.
Yeah,
But so the team get back together. This group of salty dogs that are all like one of their team members dies. Like, no, Andy. And so they get reformatted and are going to his neutral colony where we meet little 11-year-old Al Izuhura, and him and his buddies are a bunch of dorks who love warfare. They all talk about who's better, Xeon, or because they live in a neutral colony. They live in like.
Are they also like painfully ignorant of the horrors of war?
You'd be surprised. It's
I was asking that sarcastically.
that might be what this is about. Because it's war in the pocket. It's a war that you can have in your pocket, and they are very clearly representative of like gunpla builders and people who are like don't see the anti-war themes of the series. They're like cool robots, so they're all running around playing war and
in their defense,
fights.
They are cool robots.
They are cool robots. And Al watches a fight between some Xeon suits and a couple of Federation suits in the neutral colony. Like they can't be fighting here, and one crash lands. He goes to find it, and he meets the pilot, a young blonde guy named Bernie Wiseman, one of the most Jewish names in Gundam. Bernard Wiseman.
It's the opposite of a Gundam name.
Yeah, he's a pretty standard name. There's also Steiner Hardy and a couple of other good names.
Steiner Hardy.
Andy Krauss. There's Mikhail, who's Russian. There's another guy who's very clearly Mexican or Cuban. So he meets him, and it's like, hey, kid, you'd better not tell anybody, or I'll kill you. And it's like, I've got pictures, and they sort of like, hey, if you do this, we'll make this work out. And they become kind of friends. He's like, you work with me, and like, we'll figure this out. You know where the space dock is. You can help me. And Bernie lies a lot about like his like I'm almost an ace pilot, like he's just clearly some kid. He's like a teenager, and he gets brought into this.
To be fair, there are plenty of teenagers that are ace pilots by this point.
That's true. Yeah.
In fact, most of the people fighting are either really old or really young.
Really old, really young, and so he gets sort of put into this plot where he joins with this elite team that was there before, and he's like, hey, you're the new recruit, Operation Rubicon. We're gonna sneak in and we're gonna destroy the Gundam. That's our plan. And so they take on assumed identities, and he moves in pretty much next door, where he meets Christina, who's like the cute redheaded girl next door. Of course, what you don't realize is she's a Federation officer, and she's the test pilot for the new Gundam.
Doesn't matter. She's cute. I mean, the Japanese don't understand romance, so what's going to happen is they'll just look at her. They'll look at her longingly, but nothing will ever happen.
Well, they're so close. Like her and Bernie become fast friends. Al's kind of in between, like running around and all that. And what you don't realize is he's a Zaku pilot. She's a Gundam pilot. This is going to end sadly.
Oh no.
And from that, it's only 6 episodes. It was the first one to not be released on television or in film. It was the first one not connected with Yoshiyuki Tomino, the creator.
Wait, so if it wasn't, how was it released?
OVA.
What does that mean?
Original video animation.
But what does that mean?
VHS is released on tape.
Well, yeah, it's released on film. But
it wasn't put in theaters.
Yeah, no, I get what you
So
mean.
at this time,
I thought you meant it was released on Betamax or whatever. And I was like, all right.
It's during the big tech and Japanese bubble economy. So at that point, owning a VCR was like a privilege, and then like getting these tapes was a big deal. It's like now we say direct to video or direct to DVD is a derogatory thing. At that time, it's like you're getting exclusive animation that's made only for your personal enjoyment. And this was the first of that. It was the first one not involving the creators. It was the first time people who are fans of this series are making their own thing separate from the creator. And it's really good. It's really good. It's very well animated, great music, great mobile suit designs.
What year did you say this came out? 89? So this is after
Char's Counter.
Yeah, all that stuff.
It's almost 12 months or so after Char's counterattack. So now they're doing all these things that are like set around the same time.
So like visually, do you think like it has the same? Because like
I'll say it
budget wise, does it look like, because Char's counterattack looks like a movie?
Yes.
Like, you know, how does this one like hold up visually?
I would say it is better standard def. The HD really washes out the colors, and you can tell what's a painting and what isn't. I still think the character designs are really good. The bubble suit designs are really good, but it does feel a little blurry at times, a little too bright, which is, you know, nice. You know, it's good to have light, but it's a little too bright at times.
That's fair enough.
And some of the background stuff could be like you see a street scene and it's like just a bunch of gray blobs are walking down the street. It looks like a bunch of putty people. Nice. But it's set during Christmas at the end of the war. So like at one point he's like, all I got left is my mobile suit and like a heat axe and a couple of grenades, and I'm going to fight the Gundam. So he starts to come like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator.
Yeah, I forgot about those heat axes they have.
He starts setting up all these traps, and one of them is some of the Christmas balloons. So like as he's fighting Christina and the Gundam, these Christmas balloons of Santa and Frosty start popping up, and she just wastes ammo on them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, no, that's not him. And he comes out and just like slashes at her. Yeah, I really enjoy this one. It manages the humor and lightheartedness, but then also is a deeply tragic story about war and what it is from the point of view of children. And there's a great scene at the end of it where the city has been attacked.
So this is you said it's a neutral colony.
Yeah.
Right?
They're in fact, there's a plot in it where the like government there expels all Xeon from being there. It's like, nope, you have to leave. You have to leave. Everybody has to leave. Nobody's here at the time. Yeah. So it's meant to have it's like Denmark, like or Belgium. And but they're like, no, you're not neutral because they're clearly building a Gundam here, and that's that we have every right to attack that. And so like their night of the attack goes poorly, and a bunch of explosions happen, a bunch of people die, a bunch of collateral damage. Yeah. And so like there's a scene at the very end where all the kids are at the school's been destroyed, and they're all doing like a memorial for anybody who's lost, and Al starts crying, you know, realizing like, oh, people I loved are gone as well, and the war has just ended. Like that's like hey, the war just ended. It's New Year's Eve. Xeon has declared surrender. The war's over. And then his friends think that he's crying because the war's over. And he says, hey, Al, it's okay. Another war will be here just before you know it. And it's this bleak, like,
Jesus
kind of thing where it's like, hey,
thanks
it's cool.
For that.
Maybe next time we'll run into other soldiers and they'll like give us rations and stuff. And not realizing what this poor kid just had to go through.
Jesus.
Really, really love. It's one of the best in the series, in the franchise, I think. I always rewatch it every year.
And it's like six episodes?
6 episodes. A movie length, about 2-hour movie length.
Right on.
So and it's set around Christmas. It's got a Christmas vibe to it. It's kind of in the same line as Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So people will just be like,
John McTiernan came out and said it is a Christmas movie.
And it is very much a Christmas movie. It's got Christmas themes all over. It's got music that's Christmassy.
Is it a Christmas movie?
Well, it's an action movie set during Christmas.
Yeah,
it's not about the point of views of Christmas spirit.
Then isn't it not a Christmas movie? It doesn't matter.
Either way, Mobile Suit Gundam War in the Pocket, that's my recommendation. It seems a little too obvious from me, but I always love that one.
That's fine. I mean, you know, do I want to recommend an anime or do I want to recommend?
Also, the new season of Demon Slayer is out now. The entertainment.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I meant to start watching it, but I haven't.
I have not watched it yet. It's a little more fan servicey in this one, I've noticed.
What is the new Demon Slayer?
Yeah.
How so? What do you mean?
There's a lot more hot chicks running around.
Oh, right on. Well, that's anime.
It's anime.
What are you gonna do? A lot of people like that in their anime. I mean, you know, it would be weird if you. I mean, would it be weird? But like, if you just wrote an anime, but a lot of the people are ugly in it. I mean, how many movies have ugly people in it? Not very many.
None of these Marvel movies do.
None
of these Marvel movies do.
It's like it's that kid from Deadpool 2. When was the last time you saw a fat superhero? The industry discriminates. Whatever.
You had something.
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend. I was gonna recommend something else, but I haven't finished it yet. I started watching Wheel of Time.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I want to finish it before I give my thoughts on it, though.
A lot of my friends have read the books, and they're like, you should just read the books. And I'm like, that is a monumental task.
Yeah. Aren't there like 90 or whatever by this point?
I think
it's like 20 of them
15
or whatever.
or so. Like Jordan wrote the first 10 or so and then died, and then a
lot of people really love it.
Brian Sanderson wrote the others. Brandon Sanderson wrote the others.
Isn't Robert Jordan still alive?
No, Robert Jordan died a long time ago.
When? What?
Let's find out.
That makes me sad. Who's Brian Sanderson?
Brandon Sanderson.
Brandon Sanderson.
He's a fantasy writer. He does the Oath Keeper series. And
why did he
that.
Get to do Wheel of Time?
I think he like wrote with him and stuff like that.
Okay.
So Wheel of Time started in 1984 with The Eye of the World. Books 12 through 14 were written by Sanderson, and then Robert Jordan died in 2007.
Okay.
So he died a while back.
Okay. It's not that I don't like this Wheel of Time show, but I think maybe what it is like as I've watched it, I've realized a lot of fantasy tropes that happened in this book or in other books had now become rote. For example, something in it is like the Dark One is returning, and the Dark One is called the Dragon or whatever. And I'm like, that's a cliche. And everything looks so nice in it. Like there's no muck and there's no grime and grum.
It's not The Witcher.
I've watched shows like The Witcher and Game of Thrones, or even like the aesthetic of something like Dark Souls, like the bleak fallen fantasy world really speak to me. So when I see like such a nice city, also they reuse a city once. Like there's a dark, gross city that they've made look dark and gross, but it's just the same set as the nice city with some visual effects. You can't sneak that past me. I can tell instantly.
That's a little cheap.
But other than all, it looks good. I'm finish. But what I'm going to recommend is I was going to recommend something else, but I want to finish both of those things before I maybe give my thoughts on them. I want to recommend an anime that I really like that I think is it's probably not supremely underrated. People probably love it. I want to talk about Trigun.
And
why? Because I've never officially talked about it. I've mentioned it once or twice. But
my friend, we're talking about rewatching Cowboy Bebop, or not Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, which is in that triumvirate of anime westerns. Is Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop, and Trigun.
Matt, do you like westerns?
Yes.
Do you like science fiction?
Yes.
Do you like absurdly proportioned guns?
Yes. Do I like some that look like crosses that are wielded by fallen priests? Who might be one of my favorite characters in anime. I
don't know where you're getting this from. No, I'm kidding.
Do I like quirky groups like the Gung Ho Guns?
Do you like ideas that like there's lots of planets and space travel but no aliens? I don't like that part. But like I wish there were more aliens in Trigun. But my point is
that's where you go to Outlaw Star. Outlaw Star's teeming with aliens.
But you might like Trigun.
I actually do like Trigun.
Because the reason I think this show,
I've only watched the first television series and I read some of the manga.
Yeah, they did a sequel movie to it a few years ago,
and it was met with middling reviews.
But it was all right. I mean, it's the problem with doing anything like that is like we've already seen the story end.
Right.
We've had our giant peak and
valleys
and going. So like nothing's gonna like reach the thematics of that or whatever.
And Trigun is the story.
I guess Vash is kind
Vash
of
the
alien. Yeah, it's the story of the $60 billion double dollar man or whatever.
Vash the Stampede.
You know what I love about this show is it finds its own, like a lot of science fiction has trouble with this. Same thing way a lot of fantasy has trouble distinguishing itself from tropes while keeping stuff that we like from these things. It finds its own lingo and its own sort of
language,
not just aesthetic, because a lot of things I would say have these like there's a lot of things that come close to Trigun's aesthetic and a lot of things that Trigun borrows its aesthetic from. or whatever. Like there's plenty of Western influence in Star Wars. There's plenty of there's plenty of Western influence in a lot of the Westerns that we watch or whatever. It's like, but finding its own lingo, its own language, and its own sort of like what is this world? What kind of thing do we live in? Like we live in a we don't get the explanation for this world till after, I don't know, like deep into the second season or whatever.
Well,
of like,
deep into like
or the later episodes or whatever.
15 episodes in or so, we start finding out like
because Vash kind of starts the world, and him and Knives.
They're not humans.
Yeah.
They're kind of
plants is what they're called, but they're
and obviously
other
that's a
life
big
forms.
spoiler for what it is, because when you first meet Vash, he is a
it's
red trench coat wearing, dual gun wielding. He's got big blonde hair.
Oh, he's a dual gun wielding. He has one gun.
He's got the one gun. Yeah.
Well, he has. I don't want to spoil anything, but he has other guns that you will find later. I guess he is. His hand turns. Yes, his hand.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
But he uses the one big silver.
Which is a real gun.
Yeah.
That I can't remember the name of, but it's a real gun.
It looks like
there.
Alucard's gun as well. In fact, him and Alucard share a lot of similar aesthetics. But he's a.
Who is the better red coat wearing character, Alucard or Vash?
I mean, Vash is less of an edgelord.
Yeah, that's true.
Vash is a goofball.
Vash is, he
doesn't try to kill people. He's a big old silly man.
You know what I love?
Love and peace.
You know what I love about this show? That a show like something like Castlevania, or even like I haven't seen Hellsing, but I assume it's probably true, is like Vash the Stampede is a unabashedly funny character.
Yes.
He will make you laugh. Even just like the amount of goofy stuff in this show that he does that makes me just laugh.
It's impressive.
I can't begin to, like, as a kid, like even in the first episode after he has weaseled his way out of this big standoff he is with all these bounty hunters, and he's sitting there like ha 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 ha, and you see like I think like a stick of dynamite on this ledge that he's on, and he goes he sees it, and he has like his scream is this high pitched shrill shriek womanly scream, just and the entire thing tumbles down on him or whatever.
Very Looney Tunes, like,
but just
enough,
the right amount.
Just the right amount. It's a lot. The characters are big and everything. I remember the guy who tries to take the train, and he's got this big like neon cowboy outfit and like the big hat.
Oh yeah, what's his name? Bright's Dynamite Neon or whatever, something like that. Yeah, he's good. He leads the Gas Mask Bandits or whatever.
Right, and
cool.
it's so Western like Western pulp dominates this world.
Yeah,
and these obviously it follows.
Also, the giant train. It's not a train that they're on. It's the Jawa thing.
Yeah. It's like a sand crawler.
Yeah.
A giant sand crawler.
But when we first, I'll trace like the first episode, and I'll talk some more about like what I like about it. So there's these two girls work for an insurance company,
right?
And Vash the Stampede is a walking disaster,
right?
And they have to constantly process people's claims when he walks through a town and a building falls down.
Right. Everywhere he goes, he's a human dynamite.
Yeah, which is not his fault really, but
it's everyone wants to kill him.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy,
right?
Why is he a walking disaster? Because everyone wants to kill him. Why does everyone want to kill him? Because he's a walking disaster. Like, I feel bad for him is what I'm saying. And they're so the first, and also, oh god, the funniest gag I've ever seen is in the first episode. It opens with like Vash is in a bar and he's drinking. He's so cool, and he's drinking his thing, and then you hear like outside, Vash the Stampede, we know you're in there. Like, come on out now, we're gonna blow this whole damn place away, ha 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 ha, or whatever. And he comes out or whatever, and he lifts up his gun, and then it cuts to like Millie and them later or whatever, and then it shows what actually happened later. Is he pulls out his gun and he goes and he goes
the barrel opens, he just like crawls away,
and he crawls away, and they just demolish the bar or whatever, and that's how he got captured or whatever, I think.
So it makes it look like he had this big shootout, but then when they go and are like the whole place is a wreck full of holes, you realize
Vash the Stampede came through here or whatever.
He's a big dummy.
Yeah, because like it's funny, but there is like as goofy as he is, when you do see him like
get serious.
Get serious. Like there is the scene where like because for the longest time, Millie, what's the other one's name? Meryl's the big one with the giant gun. Yeah. Millie doesn't believe that he is Vash the Stampede.
Right.
For the longest time.
Because it's like, I've heard nothing but this like killer, this unstoppable,
not
like,
this doofus.
right,
Or whatever.
not this goober.
Yeah. And like with the episode where he finally does, where it's the giant family of giants or whatever who have like detachable hands.
They've got the I remember when he finds one of the screws, he's got like a cat-like face and like.
No, that's the first episode.
Yeah.
It's the guy with the big boomerang.
That's the
whatever. But later, like
again, he's kind of Bugs Bunny's around a little bit.
A little bit.
But that's his other talent other than being a gunslinger is that he's able to wiggle his way out of problems.
Yes. And later on in the episode, like 7 or 8 episodes later, when they figure out that Vash the Stampede is in this town and they're holding people hostage or whatever, she doesn't believe it's him. It's like, he's not Vash the Stampede. What's he gonna do? He's only got 6 bullets in that gun, and he takes them all out. And you see her, the way she looks at him changes, is that he is like capable of like death-defying action feats that are kind of great.
Especially when you serious, when the world pushes him to it, which that's kind of what Knives is trying to do when you find out who Millions Knives is.
Also great names in this.
Yeah, Million Knives.
Legato Blue Summers.
Nicholas Wolfwood.
Yeah. His is the most normal name.
His is the most normal name, but he's one of the coolest characters I've ever.
He's great.
Across.
I'll get to him in a second. But but like the guy with so what happened is the first episode is a big case of mistaken identity, where everyone's looking after Vash Stampede. He wears a big coat and he's got a big giant red gun or whatever, and a goofy haircut or whatever. So and they all hear that, and like these coalescing of giant. Also, like they offered the big giant guy with the boomerang donuts or whatever, which begins.
There's a lot of donut
humor in this, yes, and very well. As they're running away, he keeps somehow finding it'll be a shot of them riding with her, and she's holding the box of donuts, and then it cuts to Vash the Stampede, and then it cuts back to her, and the box is gone, and he's over there just nom nom nom.
He's anime
and she's
eating.
Like, give me that back, and he'll find.
They also
a way
ride
to keep
like
it away
big
from
ostriches, things like that as well.
I can't remember.
To give it a little bit of an alien world.
I can't remember what they're called, but yes. Yeah, they're not wampas, or whatever they're called that they ride.
They ride something avian. They almost look like chocobos.
Yeah, I was about to say that, but
Zelda. I said chocobos from Zelda.
Yeah, so there's this
Final Fantasy. Sorry, everyone.
There's this big standoff between and he goes, "This guy is not Vash the Stampede." He's like, "Wait a minute!" And one of the bounty hunters who's after him is wearing a big trench coat that's red on the inside, and he has a big old twisting shotgun. Like you shoot it and then it rotates, and you shoot it again and it rotates.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Whatever. And he goes, "Vash the Stampede. He has a red coat and a big gun. It's you, isn't it?" And they spend the entire time fighting each other, and then Vash the Stampede does the guy has his. Okay, the guy has the big boomerang, but he has like a big metallic wind-up arm with a screw, and that's where he has the cat face, and he whacks it. It also kind of like horribly like mangles the guy's arm, but it's it's funny. I think the fun of a character like this is greatly contrasted between the people that he has to fight against, particularly in the later part of the series. Like Legato, I think that Legato is like actually kind of steals the show as like the worst character that he has to fight, because Legato's powers are really scary. He can just make you do whatever he wants. Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it
because it's all these little capers to start off with, these typical like Western style capers. But when the gung ho guns get introduced,
they pepper in,
led by this shadowy like boss. Their cruelty and their viciousness is something that's trying to destroy Vash's goodness, his honor, his like optimistic outlook. And they're trying to make him cynical, trying to turn him into a demon. Yeah, by showing him nothing but abject cruelty.
Well, I think maybe not turn him into a demon. Just they want him to suffer because Knives wants him to suffer.
Right, because he knows the suffering will bring out the power within him. Yeah, that Knives can use for his own.
And Legato pulls a General Zod, which is like if you want to get out of this,
you'll have to kill
he puts him in a situation like, I'm going to kill these 2 sweet little girls that run around with you. And he goes, come on, you can do it. And Vash is horribly like Vash throughout the show goes out of his way to avoid killing his enemies.
Yes.
To the point where even somebody makes fun of him
similar
for it.
to something like Rurouni Kenshin, where Kenshin says, I'll never kill
Rurouni
again.
Kenshin is discount Vash the Stampede.
Right.
He's less
I don't
funny.
know who got there first, but it's a different kind of story, but it is also very much about a killer
with a red coat who loves
stops-
peace but is great at it.
Right. He stops killing until people try to push him to kill.
Yeah. And when we meet Legato, when he kills him, Legato dies like a smile on his face. And the next episode is Vash being horribly guilt-ridden and depressed that he had to take someone's life, essentially. Which I would be like, that guy's kind of a monster. Probably even the first time you meet him is scary. Like when he sits on the bench like across the fountain from Vash or whatever, and he puts his head on this little boy and he squeezes it like he's gonna crush him, and Vash like looks around and he's making a goofy face at the kid, and Vash is horrified because he realizes this guy could do whatever he wants at any moment.
And then like he's the worst of this outfit of bandits and assassins, and like I know the Horned Freak is another guy. The guy who's got a machine gun saxophone.
Oh god, what's his name? Yeah,
the Horned Freak.
Mid-Valley the Horn
Freak.
He's good. Do you have a favorite gung-ho gun? We don't get a lot of him, but I like Kane the long shot because that ridiculous sniper rifle.
I was about to say Kane the long shot rules,
but he never says anything.
He never says anything. Never gets to use anything. Then takes his own life because he realizes.
Yeah, and Vash was about to like
hey, you're really screwed up there, and he's like.
Just because he knows like he can't go back to knives,
right?
Whatever. I don't like the preacher guy because he just kind of is. It's like an unfulfilled arc for Wolfwood.
Yeah. It's not as fun because Wolfwood's already this really great character.
Yeah.
And originally in the manga, I think he was just a member of them.
Yeah.
Like that preacher wasn't there.
Yeah, the anime elevates him as well.
It's like Evergreen the something.
Yeah.
The kid's pretty terrifying.
Zaze the Beast or whatever.
Zaze the Beast. The woman's really good. Because it ends up like a lot of them just like fail their job and then the next member comes in and kills them.
Yeah.
And like crucifies them. Because there's the guy who's like made of spikes.
I remember what happens to him. He loses.
He loses, yeah. But
the first one is the guy who spends his whole life training to kill Vash the Stampede. He's like a berserker with just machine guns on his wrists and just armor and
most of the time it's Vash defeats them in clever ways and tries to get them to redeem themselves, and then they're assassinated afterwards.
Yeah. Except for that one.
Yeah.
That one he
gets to live
he
life.
beats and then he puts his gun up to his head but lets him live or whatever. Let's talk about Wolfwood and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wolfwood has the best anime death of all time.
Yeah.
It genuinely moves me to tears.
Because one thing, he is such a great character in this. He's cool as all get out. He's a wandering alcoholic, gun-toting priest, which shows that in space there's space Catholicism.
Yeah.
And he's got a big old it's very El Mariachi. He's got a big old cross with guns all in it, and it is a gun and everything, and he's kind of just a fun like counter character to Vash until his past catches up to him. And it of course leads sadly to him taking a fatal blow towards the end of the series where he goes to the church and he's like pleading to God and essentially is just like it's not my time. Don't make this be my time.
Yeah, the line that he gives that always gets me, and he goes, "I always justified everything I had to do for the children. Like if I did whatever,
because he protects an orphanage.
Yeah, and he goes, and whatever I did to have them safe was something that I didn't think too much about or whatever. And he goes, I can't die here. I have so much left to do or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, I can't die here, and then it immediately cuts, and he's just like slumped over on the cross.
Well, I think the last thing he says is he goes, after all the things he says, is it meaningless after all the things I've done? Oh God, what the fuck does he say? Because it fucking gets me every time. He goes, after all the bad things I've done, like, is it wrong now to ask for your forgiveness or whatever? Oh. And then it shows him slumped over and dies. And then the next scene it cuts to is Meryl horribly distraught.
Right, because they were forming a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And things were looking bright for them, and then he's just dead. And she's the sweetest, like gentle giant character who does nothing wrong. And it's so tragic.
There's a great line even from that where he like, she does everything I can't, like it's nothing at all. like it's really frustrating what he says. He's killed by Chapel. He's killed by the other
Chapel, the
priest or whatever.
But he kills him too, right? I think.
Yeah. And then even
he's got that apple and everything, and he's like, I trained you into becoming this and all that.
Yeah. And also it ends with Vash saying the same thing that they always say about his cross. Like, God, it's so heavy. And he goes, that's because it's so full of mercy or whatever, which is my great little line about him. Also, the cross saves him in the fight with Knives at the end.
Right.
Which is a great fight, by the way. I cannot recommend this show enough, especially getting into like how dark like the past of Vash and Knives is and how like we get answers to like what is this world and where did it all come from and like
why is it a desert? Why is it Tatooine?
what are these giant light bulbs that are just around?
Yeah, what
do
are
they
these
do?
craters and everything? It's like, oh, there's a big science fiction reason for a lot of these.
Yeah,
And
it's really good and it's really original. It's really imaginative.
Yes,
There's not
and you don't need much else past it. Like it's really good, tight story with good characters, great designs, a lot of fun, and
but like the
emotional
fun. But like when it gets dark,
gets
like
really
it gets
dark.
quite dark and like
without getting edgy. It doesn't
yeah,
get
it's
edgy.
the darkness
It
is
gets-
really earnest. Like the villains aren't like.
They're not pushovers.
I mean, some of them are pushovers, but the ones that are pushovers are like for fun. But the ones that are like horrifying death monsters are like they're scary.
They're stakes with them.
Yeah.
And they shock you. And it is meant to shock Vash,
Yeah.
who is used to this kind of like silly, like gun-toting fun time, but then the past catches up.
Yeah. Great show.
Great show.
I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah.
This has been an episode of The Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like movies but don't want to be too smug about it. You can catch us on YouTube and Facebook and Apple Podcasts / iTunes and Podbean. And feel free to leave comments below and like and subscribe. It helps us out a bunch. And let us know what movie you would like us to talk about next.
Oh, we'd
or
always
if
love
at
that.
all.
We always love that.
Yeah, make us watch something real obscure that we won't like, and you can just torture us and make us talk about it for 90
Well,
minutes.
be weary, but anyway.
Don't be weary. Make us do it.
We got a couple of other.
Put
good
a gun
stuff
to our
this
heads.
month. Yeah, like Vash the Stampede.
Yeah, like Vash the Stampede.
All right. Well,
This has
catch you
been-
next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.